Northern California's wine country district is a beautiful place to be pretty much any time of the year, but especially when there's a significant sporting event like IndyCar coming to town at the famed Sonoma Raceway. And it is championship day. It's the final of the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series, and that man there, Juan Pablo Montoya, has led every step of the way. His challenger, the young American, Graham Rahal, pumped up like you wouldn't believe. He is ready to go for this championship fight, and Scott Dixon, a three-time series titleist, he most certainly knows how to get it done. He is one of 6 contenders. However, while there is the business at hand of trying to win this championship, there is a very somber mood across the Verizon IndyCar Series at the tragic loss of Justin Wilson on Monday. He succumbed to injury sustained in that very random and bizarre accident at Pocono Raceway last weekend. And everybody, all of his peers, his drivers and the teams that he drove with, dedicating this race and paying tribute to this beautiful Justin Wilson tribute together.
In the 47 years I've covered IndyCar racing, I've been lucky enough to cover the tough guys like AJ, Parnelli, Gurney, and Mario. The next wave of greatness like Mears, Sneeve, and Rahal, and today's stars like Canaan, Dixon, and Castroneves. But throughout the thousands of interviews and races, I've only met one driver that's too good to be true. There wasn't a mean, selfish, or phony bone in Justin Wilson's 6'4" frame. In the cutthroat, pressurized world of big-time motorsports, he totally went against form. He didn't cuss, he didn't throw tantrums, demand special treatment, or play the blame game. He was always polite, humble, kind, way too honest for a race driver, and unfailingly positive despite never getting the big break he deserved. From the first time I met Justin in 2004 to last weekend just before the start of the Pocono 500, he had that big smile on his face because America had given him the opportunity that Formula One couldn't. His 7 wins belie the fact he was as good on a road or street course as anyone. And the competition always feared that Roger Penske or Chip Ganassi would finally get smart, stick him in a car, and they'd all be running for second place. He was so good, he gave Dale Coyne's little team its first win after 25 years of trying. Of course, driving isn't what really endeared us to this British treasure. It was how he lived his 37 years. The fans loved him just like the media, because he always made time for everyone and had such a genuine appreciation for the attention. He was the man you want your son to be or your daughter to marry, because he had a goodness gene not often found in life, let alone sports. We hurt for his wife and 2 little girls because most of us got to spend more years with the gentle giant than they did. But if they grew up to be anything like their father, the world will be a much better place. Lynn and Keith Wilson didn't raise a perfect child, but Justin was about as close as you can get.
Julia and Justin's daughters. The WilsonChildren'sFund.com is where you go to contribute, and I know and I thank a lot of you already for doing that as you have, and also you can help out by raising some funds, and so many have already this weekend with those t-shirts, the decals, the stickers, the pins. Do you know what? More than 2,000 of those shirts sold out here at Sonoma Raceway on the very first day. A new order came through, and then every single IndyCar driver in today's race donating their helmets, their race helmets, to a unique eBay auction that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Graham Rahal, the driving force behind that. The 25 Andretti Autosport car will be driven in Justin's honor here today by Oriol Servia. It's a special day here at Sonoma Raceway. There's no question that the motorsport world is grieving the loss of Justin Wilson. The outpouring of emotion on a global scale has been unbelievable. Here at Sonoma Raceway, earlier in the week at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, messages of condolence and Just heartfelt messages about how much everybody enjoyed Justin Wilson as a person and a racer on the scoring pylon at the Brickyard. And then yesterday in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America, the RCR cars of Paul Menard and Tom.
Turn 2, as you mentioned, 2 of the championship contenders starting together. So keep in mind, while Montoya has the inside in turn 1, if Ray Hall can stay even up through 2, he has the preferred inside line, and there's been carnage here in 3 of the last 6 years, including the last 2. So it's possible we have a major swing in the championship before we even get through the second turn.
Kevo, great point. It is a real hot spot, that turn 2, as they climb the hill. Scenes of last year right there. What will we see this year? Well, as the cars roll, let's take a closer look at this Sonoma Raceway track. T-Bell, talk us round.
One of the best racetracks here in North America, and it just ribbons through these beautiful California hills, but it demands technique and it demands finesse. And you can see the cars going there through turn 2. A little bit of off camber there, and it's blind, but we're right in the middle of wine country here, Sonoma, California, and it all starts in turn 1, a wide open, flat corner, but then it goes uphill, and it generates huge compression on the car as you brake for turn 2, and then it's blind as you're trying to find the apex for turn 2 and lay the power down for a very smooth exit. Not a lot of natural grip in the asphalt here at Sonoma. It goes all the way around down to turn 7. That's where a great passing opportunity will exist today. If you can duck up the inside, out brake someone, or maybe consider the over-under where you start outside and exit to the inside. You can get a run up through those S's, and you skip the traditional NASCAR part. You go through that IndyCar chicane, and it leads you down to the final turn, turn 11, a right-hand hairpin, pretty wide through there. It can get a little ugly sometimes on restarts, but that takes you back to start-finish. Beautiful racetrack and a beautiful weekend here in Sonoma.
It may not be the longest, but boy, does it pack a punch. It's just under 2.4 miles, as Townsend said, but are you busy? And the task for today is 85 laps. Let's take a look at how they'll line up with the Mother's Polish starting grid. And we told you it's a Power Newgarden front row for Will Power. He dominates qualifying this year, gets that bonus point, and gives himself the best possible chance to win this championship.
And Power is just looking to have a good time today and do what he does best, which is keep his head down and run away from the field. Great run for Marco Andretti, former winner here, as we go further back to row 7, and Elio Castroneves, not a great qualifying performance, Paul.
No, Bourdais had a good warm-up session. Look at Oriol Servia. He's the guy who's going to take the spot for Justin Wilson and do this final race. Jack Hawksworth had an oil leak at the back of the field, so he's really had a tough year.
As always, with every Verizon IndyCar Series race, we rely heavily on our onboards. We want to say thanks to Lucas Oil for bringing us Ryan Briscoe's view here. His last race for Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports aboard the 5, filling in for the injured James Hinchcliffe. NTT Data gives us this view for TK. Tony Kanaan aboard the 10 for Chip Ganassi's team, and his teammate is Scott Dixon, who carries one of our Verizon streaming cameras aboard the 9, a championship contender. Will he be in the mix? Talking about Ganassi's guys, with thanks to Novolog, this is Charlie Kimball's view, and he's got this out the back as well. We will be using that quite often. The Steak and Shake Honda for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Incidentally, David Letterman is here today for this championship, and we'd like to thank Steak and Shake. You may notice the number 25 being displayed on every track light. Those LED lights, that is out of respect and a tribute to Justin Wilson. This is the Verizon onboard for Juan Pablo Montoya. Will he be our champion at the end of these 85 laps? And another reminder we told you in IndyCar Live about our 2 Verizon streaming cars, Adrenaline On Demand. Download the IndyCar 15 mobile app to get amazing live streams from in-car cameras and a whole lot more, only from Verizon.
Hey, Graham, Paul Tracy coming in. Can you hear me?
Copy, I got you.
All right, Big G, everybody wants to know. They've asked me a million times, what would you do if you were Graham? We want to know what you're going to do at the start. Are you going for it, or are you going to take it easy like your dad would?
Yeah, man, I don't see Montoya racing me too hard, so stick in my line and hopefully it works out. But all in all, proud of this Steak and Shake team for everything they've done all season.
All right, Graham, good luck today, and good luck for winning this championship.
Copy.
He's never been this high in his IndyCar career. It's all to play for. Talking with his famous father, Bobby, yesterday, he said, Lee, Graham said to me, I've come too far. I'm too close not to win this championship. I am going to do everything in my power to win it today. As they pack up, they grit up. We're ready to go racing for the final time in honor of the late Justin Wilson. It's the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. It's the championship decider. It's time to bring the action. Willpower. Look at Hunter Ray on the inside of Newgarden. He goes for it. Rahal sweeps around the outside. They climb the hill into this turn, this tricky turn 2, and everybody through cleanly.
And what a great start for Juan Pablo Montoya. He's in fourth. Somebody's looking up the inside there. That's Kimball, but Montoya makes it through clean. That is huge for his championship hopes.
Look at Rahal on the inside, trying to get through. Rahal sideways. He gets hit by Andretti. It's a rough and tumble through turn 4, but he gathers it up. Andretti's through.
Possibility he might have got tire damage. He got swarmed by everybody. That was a real early start by Willpower. Probably caught Graham off guard, and he just got swallowed up by 4 or 5 cars.
He was in the thick of it with Dixon and Canaan. Here he goes up to turn 7 to make a move on Andretti, on Marco, and does it. It's a good inside move, and he pulls it off.
I don't know about that. Marco was hanging tough on the outside, but ran out of road.
It was contact early on, too, with the 22 of Simon Pagenaud. Let's get to Jan.
And you're talking about Graham Rahal getting swallowed up. He decided the only car I saw other than Tony Kanaan to start not on new red sidewalled Firestone alternates, but scrubbed. So the other cars had more grip there the first couple corners. He wants to save his best tires for the end of the race.
Guys, I can't emphasize how huge that start was for Montoya. His greatest risk was an issue on the opening lap, and he just navigated it brilliantly. On board now with Graham, and Montoya's next to him.
And Hunter Ray, Paul, got a great start ahead of Montoya. That opened things up for Juan.
See Charlie Kimball slid up the outside there. Look at this on the outside of Pagenaud. So a really aggressive. Oh, look at that, banging wheels with Dixon. So that's look at that.
And then Canaan lined up for a shot. He was through on the inside. Just up ahead of Graham through this turn was where there was contact with Pagenaud, and Marco Andretti is about to come flying through on the inside of Graham Rahal and muscle his way through. There he goes.
And guys, the benefit of being a multi-car team, if you're Graham Rahal, you have nobody to help here. As we see out the back, I believe, of Charlie Kimball, there's Graham and Dixon next to each other. You're going to see light wheel-wheel contact. Little rubbity rub, no big deal.
Quick look over.
Graham's got nobody to help him. Pagenaud was able to act as a buffer for Montoya, and that's a huge difference.
We had a meeting with Brian Barnhart yesterday, and he said he was going to tell these guys to not get involved with the championship leaders, and he was banged off of 4 or 5 different cars.
I think they missed the not part.
Yeah. However, most of them were championship contenders. So it's Willpower who's leading the way by about 1.5 seconds over Joseph Newgarden and Ryan Hunter-Ray. Then the championship leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. Then Dixon, Kimball, Pagenaud. Then we get back to Canaan and Rahal Andretti in the top 10.
This is exactly where Power is so comfortable. When he can sit out front, control the pace, do his fuel mileage. But look at Joseph Newgarden. This is a guy who really wants to end his season strong. He's in the free market. He's a free agent and needs a good result here, another win. And that could really put him in the captain seat for next year.
And Paul, with all these guys on red tires to start, it's only going to be 3 or 4 laps before we start to understand what does tire degradation look like. Not just in terms of pace, but balance. Can they maintain the balance of these cars as the tires wear?
I'll tell you one thing, the guy with the most experience with a car with tire degradation is Juan Pablo Montoya. When you run a cup car around here, the tires fall off so fast, and he's got a lot of experience around this track, more than anybody else. So really, now that he's displaced Graham, he's really in a good position.
Remember that Montoya is a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race winner here at Sonoma Raceway, and already Team Penske laid out for one of its cars. It might be Helio Castroneves. It's certainly not Montoya. Marty Snyder's there.
And he said that he has a nose issue, might be nose damage. And you hear Roger Penske saying they're going to put tires on and take a wing on. This obviously will very much hurt Helio Castroneves' chance at the championship, which was only mathematical in nature coming into the race. You see him coming to pit road. They're going to put tires on here, put a new nose on the car. Helio qualified 15th yesterday. He was very disappointed in that fact and knew that that was hurt his shot as a championship. And you can see the damage. You guys have circled it there. Helio coming down pit road to get that nose change and get new tires on here very early in the race. He cannot catch a break this season. It seems his team has had speed. They just don't have the finishes, and there's that damage on the left front of that wing on Helio Castroneves' car. The new wing going on, the new tires going on as well, and clearly losing a ton of time here on pit road while everybody else is green out on the racetrack.
And Marty, not huge damage to the left front end fence, but that gives you some understanding of how aero-sensitive the cars are here and why it's so hard to pass in traffic. I mean, that was just a little horizontal flap on the left front end fence.
Yeah, you can certainly deal with that on a street course, but not with how fast this track is. No way.
His teammate Will Power has led every lap thus far early on and seems to be getting into a nice rhythm. Spread out. There's no immediate challenges here. We pick up that red and black car right there, Graham Rahal, second in the championship. Then we go back and you see the yellow and red car. That's Sebastian Saavedra returning to the 8. The AFS Racing for Chip Ganassi Racing entry. And he's doing a nice job as he pushes his way through just outside the top 10. Incidentally, before Elio was forced to come to the pits, he'd made up 3 positions, so frustration there. Here is Sebastian Bourdais, one of our race winners this year, put on an absolute clinic at Milwaukee, and he heads to his respective pit box.
And Sebastian Bourdais was so frustrated after qualifying. He thought he had a lap that would qualify him to the next group. And wouldn't you know that his teammate was exiting the pits at the exact time that he was trying to put his fastest lap. Sebastian Bourdais obviously is an emotional driver, but I've never seen him that upset. Now they go for early strategy just in case. When you don't qualify well, you take a risk.
Gets out into some clean space in the hydroxy cut machine. Bourdais will see what the Frenchman can come up with today. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger and proud sponsor of the number 15 and Graham Rahal.
We take out figures and lay clowns, take down the fake crowds, giving us hate now. Bass sounds will make pounds, give it a break now. Lay down the face rounds, hit in your face. I hate how kiddies you break out, make out that they make riddles, but ain't proud. Stay out my way out, start with chase down, lay down my lyrics and make them say wow.
Team Penske's won Pablo Montoya. He is one cool dude, and he is an incredible race car driver. He has had a career that many can only dream of. He's driven for teams that drivers could only dream of. And here he is on the verge. He got through that anxious opening sequence of turns cleanly. He sits in a very strong 4th position, and he now sits on the verge of his 2nd IndyCar title. There's still a lot of work to be done here today, but how about this? Points leaders for an entire IndyCar season since 1956. Not many, are they? Not many at all. And JPM has led every step of the way.
We talked about balance earlier. It looks to already be kind of a handful, Paul, for most of these guys. We're talking laps that are 4 to 5 seconds off of qualifying pace, as tire degradation is already coming into play.
Yeah, certainly, you know, that's the key to keeping the tires under the cars, not pushing them too hard. And we know that Will Power is a master at making fuel mileage and making good lap time. But right now he's got to concentrate on fuel and saving tires.
So as we race lap 9 of 85, it is a grind. It's warm here today. This is going to be a tough slog. And so far, it has been very routine. A little bit of a scramble at the start, but for the likes of Scott Dixon, who has effectively made up 4 positions from his starting spot of 9th to 5th. Good job so far early on. And if you just want to hear how busy they are around this 2.385 mile circuit, Sonoma Raceway, take a listen to this. Into the carousel. Firestone telemetry giving us an interesting look there at Scott Dixon. All right, we're going to do this throughout the course of the day. We will continually update the points for you as they run. And at the moment, Will Power would be in second position. Montoya still with a comfortable lead. Remember, double points today is the big talking point as Carlos Munoz brings his Andretti Honda to pit road, and Jan's there.
And this is still more strategy play. This will turn into a 4-stop unless there was a projected yellow later on. These are all cars like Carlos Munoz with a 7.6 second stop. They stop now, hoping that there will be a caution. All right, that Ziggy Hark is telling him to stand in on the outlap. They want yellow now before the leaders pit. That's the way the strategy plays.
And Paul Townsend, as we see a close call there with Takuma Sato as a driver, I imagine you want to just keep throwing tires at it, keep filling it up and go as hard as you can as opposed to running to a fuel number.
Well, this is not what he wants coming out of the pits and have to get stuck behind a car on older tires. He needs to make the lap times right now, so he's got to make quick work of Sato if he's going to really benefit from these tires, Townsend.
Yeah, for sure. But back up front, Will Power continues to just manage the pace. Things have sort of leveled off, stabilized a bit. This about 1:20.5 second pace is what you're seeing from all the leaders right now. And critically, what they need to do is get a read on their car over the full fuel stint so that their crew can make any key adjustments to tire pressure or anything else, maybe with front wing on pit lane when they come to their first stop.
Joseph Newgarden sits in a very prominent position in second on a very important day for him to finish the championship, Marty, in a really nice spot.
It's been a great season for Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power would love to finish second in the championship standings. Those two up front, you know, Will Power told me this morning, my favorite session of the weekend by far, that last qualifying session where he was very aggressive, able to attack the track, 3 one-lap runs. That's how he was able to put it on the pole position. But he told me today is a different game. We have to protect points. We have to stay out front. I have to do all I can to win a championship. As we saw a moment ago, he's still second in the championship. So a lot to gain for Will Power today, who's very much just managing the gap back to Joseph Newgarden. Every time Newgarden gets a little closer, Newgarden with a little bit of understeer in his car, Power can pull away when he wants to. So right now, PT, you're right, saving fuel all he can and maintaining that gap between he and Newgarden.
That gap is getting tighter, Townsend. He's as close as he's ever been, and also Hunter Ray is closed in as well. So maybe a little bit of tire issues going on with Power.
Yeah, well, it's really not a whole lot of incentive at this phase for Power to try to stretch out a massive lead. If the yellow comes out, it's going to stack back up anyway. So he just wants to protect the lead, maintain the gap.
What's at play? There's a championship at stake, and Will Power can defend his title. He can win, but he's got to stay where he is. He's got to win this race, maximum points, and hope for a little adversity for his teammate, Juan Pablo Montoya. Hey, you can watch today's IndyCar race online at NBCSports.com on mobile and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. You won't miss a minute. The world famous Fisherman's Wharf, San Francisco, about an hour south of here as we welcome you back to Sonoma Raceway. Scott Dixon has just pitted, third in the championship chase. He made up good positions at the start. He's gone from those red, softer compound Firestone tires to the blacks. And back at it, back at work. We understand the race leader is on pit road. Here we go, top 2, Power and Newgarden. Racing lap 14, about to complete lap 14. Newgarden has done a nice job sticking with Power. Marty?
And Lee, you can see how much this tire degradation is really playing with all of these teams. You can see both of these cars coming down pit road, first and second place. So both put on primary sticker tires for both of these cars. This will put everybody in a 4-stop strategy for the rest of the day. They'll have to stop 3 more times, and Will Power stalls it, leaving pit road. Oh, and now Newgarden trying to lead. And Simon Pagenaud trying to pull into his pit. That affected Will Power and Joseph Newgarden. And Graham is behind as well. Let's see where all this cycles out, guys.
What happened to Pagenaud there?
Well, Pagenaud was trying to come in right as Newgarden was leaving, and now Newgarden elected on his own to drive over the air hose on pit lane. So going to need a lot of replay there to figure out exactly what happened and if anything needs to happen from race control.
Really had no option because it was either run over the front wheel of Simon or just go
sit
through
there.
the pit box, you know?
Check this out. Joseph Newgarden, second car in shot, but look to the left. Here comes Simon Pagenaud.
He was waiting on his teammate to go, and that blocked Newgarden. So he waited for Will Power to go, which effectively blocked Newgarden into his pit level.
Good call, Paul.
However, PT, he would not have known that Newgarden was coming out at him. He would have been unsighted, don't you think?
I think he would have seen him there as Montoya comes to pit lane.
It's an easy in for Montoya, and it also helps because Ryan Briscoe pitted in the last lap, so it's an easy out. It's an air pressure adjustment up the on.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay, now you'll see at the top of the screen, this is lap 16. You'll see that Montoya is leaving. We'll see if Ryan Hunter-Reay can out-drag him, and he does pick up that position. Now, in my mind, this could still be a two-stopper, 2 more stops for these cars that made it to lap 16.
Go.
You'll have to save some fuel, but they're just on the inside of the window.
Whoa, Canaan and Bourdais going at it. Tony thought about doing a big inside move and couldn't quite get close enough to the hydroxy cut machine. So, interesting play on pit road.
Well, definitely team tactics are being used for 100% because Simon effectively stopped in the pit lane to let his teammate out, and he would have been told on the radio to do so.
Absolutely, and he would have known that Newgarden was there. It's clear that Simon Pagenaud's role in this is make sure that Will Power and Montoya have every opportunity to win the race in the championship.
New tires versus old tires here. You can see Canaan is all over the back of Bourdais, looking for a way by.
I got to think, I'm just trying to think here, Paul. In my career, I've never seen anybody stop on pit lane.
Neither have I.
Unless there was an incident.
There's a lot of radio communication going on in that between those 4 cars on that Team Penske. So that was a first for me. I've never seen anybody come to a complete stop to wait for their teammate to leave either.
Charlie Kimball serviced and sent in the Novolog Flex Pen car for Chip Ganassi Racing. Here's Canaan. He has grown too impatient with Bourdais. They go wheel to wheel through turn 1 and up to 2. Nice move.
Reds against blacks. They're new reds versus old blacks, and you can see the grip level. He just drove by him up the hill.
Riding with Graham Rahal in the Steak and Shake Honda. He's the next one to add Bourdais to his list.
Marco Andretti currently shown as your leader. Now he's circulating at about 1:22. Paul, that's almost 6 seconds off qualifying pace, so it really gives you a feel for the challenge of managing the tires on full fuel around Sonoma.
Just shows you how far away that Tony Kanaan has been able to gap Bourdais. Rahal needs to get it done quickly and efficiently.
A little too far back there, but he's definitely in a hurry to get by Bourdais. He needs to stay in touch with Canaan.
Pitted 10 laps after Bourdais did Graham Rahal. Kev?
Here's Michaela Lotion into the pit stall. It's the first time we've seen him since that frightening crash on the oval at Fontana last year. Significant injuries, took him several months to recover. He said he's been working all year to get back to IndyCar. He's hoping this can jumpstart a ride for next year. He's been faster in all 3 sessions and qualifying than his 2 Schmidt-Peterson Motorsport teammates. Really impressive drive so far this weekend for Lotion.
He did a good job here last year as well with a 7th place finish. Has been doing some sports car racing this year after he rehabbed effectively after that big crash in Fontana. As we get back to it, here we go. Top 2 guys in the race waiting for them to pit for the first time in this 85-lap Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. Andretti and Sebastian Saavedra. Of course, this is a special place for Marco where he brought up his first career IndyCar victory and would dearly like to finish the season on a high. He's 12.5 seconds up the road on Will Power, who was leading at the time when he pitted on lap 14. And another lap goes by. No diving to the pits this time.
3 more laps, 3 more laps. Just keep doing this.
Hear the voice of Marco's father, Michael Andretti, coaching him. And how about this guy, Sebastian Saavedra? What a great part-time year he's had. Really so much improvement year over year with him. currently running second with the Ganassi team, so we know the car's fast around here. He's done a very nice job today.
All right, guys, I know you won't be surprised by this. The incident on pit lane involving the 1 of Will Power, the 22 of Simon Pagenaud, and the 67 of Joseph Newgarden under review from race control.
Who do you penalize?
Well, I don't know that the rule book even addresses it. You can be penalized for going too fast.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure there's a penalty for going too slow.
Who do you penalize? Do you penalize?
I think Pagenaud.
Pagenaud for being polite and
no, I don't
courteous,
think that's being, I don't think that's being polite.
Or was there a team? If they can hear a radio transmission that says stop, that could be an issue.
Marty?
And I also don't think we should be surprised that after all of that, there's a little front wing damage. Not too bad on Joseph Newgarden's car. I did talk to Sarah Fisher. She said it's bad enough, though, that eventually she's worried that the wing will start damaging itself. So they brought a new wing out here in case Joseph does happen to have a bigger issue with that front wing. And they've told him on the radio, just do your best to maintain with Will right now. And for reference, there you see the new wing getting ready to go on if they do have to need that new wing. And for reference of the guys who pitted at lap 14, Will Power and Joseph Newgarden still 1-2, so it may not hurt them that much here on pit road.
Hey, Marty, when you were talking with Sarah Fisher, did she share her opinion of the incident?
She did not share her opinion of the incident. And by the way, I did talk to Kyle Moyer, and I asked him, did anyone tell Simon Pagenaud to stop on pit road? He said no. Simon did that on his own. He stopped on pit road and let Will Power go.
Well, the issue is not so much that he stopped to let his teammate go, but he stopped at the expense of Joseph Newgarden. So, not quite sure how they'll deal with that, but they're looking at it.
One of the earliest cars to stop in this race was a man trying to make his way from 15th, Elio Castro Neves. He's back in again.
Fighting that uphill battle all afternoon long, Lee. We see the new tires going on for Elio Castro Neves, who's been mired back in traffic. Remember, they took a wing very early in this race after some damage at the initial start of the race. And Saavedra is a new leader. How about that?
Sebastian Saavedra gets the lead away from Marco Andretti. However, both of these cars are losing massive time to the chasing pack. And still another lap goes by where they choose not to pit for tires.
This is great stuff for Saavedra to get an opportunity at the end of the year to run like he's running now, to lead a couple laps. That's a confidence builder. So this is it's a good opportunity for him.
That's great. It's huge for Californian Gary Peterson and AFS, who's supported Saavedra for the last several years. They've maintained their faith, and he's rewarding them with a great performance here, passing one of the top drivers in the series and pulling away. But Paul, the lap times do continue to slow down. That last lap from Andretti, a 1:23 and a 22.3 from Saavedra. So I'm watching to see how far these guys can go on fuel, because they're going to run these things out of fuel before they run out the tires.
He pulled away from Marco like he's standing still. So obviously that last lap with the pass might have slowed them down, but they've been running in the 21s, about a second and a half off of what the leaders are doing. But this is that was a good pass.
You could see, if you were noticing there on the roll hoop, you could see the green PP flashing, which means push to pass.
One more lap.
And that meant that Saavedra was on the button. Kind of fun now, because if you're trying to defend, you can look over at the roll hoop with the guy trying to get by and find out what he's doing.
Look at the distance. Look at the distance he put on him in one lap.
You heard the radio call, one more lap, one more lap. Now that may have been Michael to Marco Andretti. It may have been some communication
Use overtake.
to Sebastian Saavedra.
Why he's encouraging her overtake right there. Obviously, this is critical on your in-lap to maintain pace, as Oriol Servia pits from third.
Good work, and considering the weekend started out for Oriol Servia, who will openly tell you, I've not been to the gym since I raced Indianapolis, and I was taken aback by the forceful nature of these cars and how difficult it is to steer. He's doing a really nice job.
He is, Lee, and of course they changed the car because he did on day one said, I physically cannot turn the car in the carousel. They changed the steering rack. That was just over a 9-second stop for him. A larger steering wheel, changed the steering rack, changed the caster, which is affects the steering effort. And now he says, okay, I'm good for the distance. But as you can see, these cars are streaming by. He's not quite in the sequence he'd like to be in.
Came out just ahead of, looked like Tristan Vautier there, as he gets back up to speed. So good work, Oriol Servia. Terrific to be calling your name back in the series and driving in the honor of Justin Wilson. Here's Sebastian Saavedra pitting from the lead. So what a run that was, making up 9 positions from his starting spot. Marco Andretti follows him into the lane as well. And let's hope for a good, clean, smooth stop.
And Saavedra just a couple of stalls in front of Marco. Andretti hits his spot. What these two have done, while they have been losing time on the track, if it stays green, they could make it on 2 more stops, while those that came in much earlier are going to have to take an extra one.
Nice work. They can do it on 1 less stop. Perfect. Back to Will Power, our pole sitter. And now back in the top spot. You think about when the #1 machine, the Verizon Chevrolet, pitted at lap 14, and you see the likes of Saavedra and Andretti stretching it to 22. This is going to be an interesting one strategically towards the end.
I came from nothing, I was hungry, I was struggling, I was hustling, I was bluffing, I was in need of something. Now I'm trying to pick it up, getting the figures up, trying to get a little bit of money to live it up. But I keep grounded, I keep putting the rounds in the mountain. I won't stop.
He's IndyCar's Iceman, and he is a cool operator. Scott Dixon, 3-time series champ, winner here at Sonoma Raceway. What can the Kiwi do here today on championship day? At the moment, he runs 3rd, and he would be 3rd in the championship positions as they run. Montoya, in case you're wondering, would still have enough positions as they run, but still a lot of work to do as we just click over to race lap 26 of 85. Now we also put the attention on Graham Rahal, the man 2nd in the championship coming into today. He runs 7th at the moment. He's just under 10 seconds behind race leader Will Power. We want to let you in on some radio just occurred.
Problem is my car is so loose that when I try to follow close, it's killing me. At this point, he's got to keep those tires underneath us.
Well, like you said, he's in the turbulence of the cars in front. He's dropped back from CANAL just to get some clean air. He's loose. He's degrading the rear tires, which means the rear of the car is sliding. It's not putting power down, so he's just hanging back a little bit. Hopefully they can make some adjustments on the next stop with air pressure, or maybe take some front wing out.
Driving for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Let's hear from the first L in that team combo. Here is Mr. David Letterman.
And you're right, Letterman's in the house, and I know right now the positions aren't what you want, but how are the championship nerves going, David?
Well, you know, I want him to win the race. I want him to win the championship. It's been a tremendous year. You know, in racing, you're not going to run the table, but I don't know what more you could ask of this kid. And let's just say it doesn't come out the way it feels like it's going to come out. We still win because we have a tremendous amount of momentum for next year. So I don't see us losing anything here today, but I'm looking for a double.
And this team has been so impressive. Certainly it's not lost on you. You're a single car effort, and you've been taking it to guys like Penske and Ganassi. Must make you proud.
Yeah, well, it's Graham, and he's one of those guys now. You know, there a long time when there were 3 teams, and now he's right up there with them. And what I love about the kid and how he drives, he'll hunt you down and get you, and it's so exciting.
All right, well, we'll enjoy some more hunting today. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
You could not get a better endorsement.
Looks like he's auditioning for Castaway 2.
Or Santa Claus 4.
I know Tom Hanks is a good friend, but taking that to extreme, gotta love that guy. What a great race fan, born and bred in Indiana, and I love it that he's retired, but he's here at the racetrack all the time.
And I just love the quote, we can't lose anything here today. It's been an amazing season, 2 wins, fighting for the championship. The Steak and Shake Honda has been a performer this year. Graham's championship chances, how are they looking? Well, they're slipping a little at the moment, but we're not even halfway through this season finale. Is there any stopping Will Power? We're going to tell you, he needs to put in some pretty big laps to make a great strategy work. We welcome you back to Championship Sunday. It's the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma, San Francisco, about an hour south of where we are here at Sonoma Raceway. It has been a beautiful day. It's going to be the best day for whom? At the moment, it looks like Juan Pablo Montoya. As we take you back from the city all the way here to Sonoma Raceway, Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy with you, along with Marty Snyder, Robin Miller, Kevin Lee, Katie Hargett, and Jan Beekes doing an excellent job on pit road. The final race for the Verizon IndyCar Series for 2015. And these two guys have enjoyed some good time up front. Will Power, Joseph Newgarden started on the front row and have run 1-2 for the majority of this race.
And super impressive that Newgarden holds that second position after all the drama on pit lane, which we understand that that's going to go to a post-race review, so we won't see any action in the race today in terms of a response to that as we look further back to Ryan Hunter-Reay, last week's winner. And what an amazing second half of the season. I mean, Hunter-Reay in the 28, just nowhere in the first half. They were struggling. He was frustrated. He's pulled it together like he always does, and they're at the top of their game again.
I talked to Ryan the other day after qualifying. I said, great job. And I said, what's the difference? I said, what has changed? He goes, well, I said, is it confidence? And he said, really, no. It's just we've narrowed down the options of all the winglets and all the book of everything, of all these different options with the aero kit, and just figured out what I like and what works, and it's just simplified everything, and that's been the difference.
And right now, Ryan Hunter-Reay, though, is saving a bit of fuel because they told him, I believe, a lap and a half ago to pit in 8 laps. Well, that was, I believe, lap 29. So you need to get to lap 39 if you want to only make a stop after that. So I believe at the moment, Ryan Hunter-Reay recognizes he's a little bit short of that window, and that might be why he's dropping back into clutches here, having to save a little bit of fuel to get back in sequence.
Townsend, you mentioned a turnaround. Paul, you mentioned the turnaround for Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's won 2 of the last 3 races. It's not just been an RHR turnaround, it's been an Andretti Autosport turnaround. The morale of that team was boosted earlier this year, most notably by the inclusion of the late Justin Wilson. Justin brought something different to that team on behalf of Honda and reignited them.
Well, and I think a big salute to Honda for recognizing the talent and the contribution that Justin Wilson can make to a race team. They knew that he brought so much to the table in terms of setup, experience, and execution, and it's just been great to see that pay off for not only Andretti, but all of the Honda drivers.
So Ryan is racing well in 4th at the moment. He's about 3 seconds behind Scott Dixon, who's ahead of him in 3rd on the road. Working hard in Northern Cal on a beautiful day, the final day for IndyCar. Back at Sonoma Raceway, and the first yellow, the first caution of the day. It's due to an ailing Fuzzy's Chevrolet driven by Luca Filippi in this last race of the season. He's been communicating with the team, said there's issues with the throttle.
It's odd that they would throw a yellow because he's running. He's not stopped on track. So this is kind of a weird yellow, but obviously it's timely for a lot of guys. Really, for Kanaan, he's already pitted. It's going to be the option for him to stay out and assume the lead or come and get tires.
Tony pitted within the last 5 laps. You'll see him back there, that bright blue and red NTT data car for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. So that's where Tony is, and we're a little shy of what the optimal window would be for that next stop. We're just shy of it, Townsend.
Well, we'll see how many laps of yellow we get, because I think you're going to want to stop with about, 37, 38 laps on the ticker. But if the yellow stays out long enough, you'll be okay. I think if green flag comes out around lap 38, you'll still be able to make it with 1 more stop.
My wish right now is I hope that everybody pits up until Servia, and Servia stays out and leads this race.
That would
Justin
be lovely.
Wilson's car. That would be a beautiful thing.
Well,
I think you might see it.
Besides this caution, Oriole's done a tremendous job. He's made up 8 positions from his starting spot, and he runs in 11th. So another full lap, and they're sending the race control, is sending the sweepers out there as well. Let's get to Jan Beekes.
And Townsend, you were talking about the strategy and what might happen, and yes, the number of yellows makes a big difference, but this will be a big push. Lap 35 at the moment, unless they did extended sweeping. Anyone who pits now, in my opinion, has 2 more stops coming, unless We know that yellow breeds yellow. But typically you want to come in here, as you said, on lap 39 if you want to be good to go to the end, but you gain an extra lap for every two, I should say, under yellow. Pits are open. This will be good.
Who comes and who stays?
Busy pit lane. We saw just 3 cars in the pit lane, and it got confusing. So with the wide open pit here, it's there is potential for some wheel banging and some accidents in the pit lane.
Well, the harder it is to pass on the racetrack, and this is the most difficult track to pass on the schedule, the premium it puts, the more premium it puts on pit lane. So you're going to see a race on pit lane like we probably haven't seen in a while.
Incidentally, we should follow up about that stop earlier and that altercation on pit lane between Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, and Simon Pagenaud. We did get word back from race control that the lane usage in pits is what they were in the pit lane is what they were looking at, and there will be a post-race review on the 22 of Simon Pagenaud. That's how the points sit now, but still a long way to go. Not yet halfway. That's coming up shortly. The most interesting thing is here, who stays out, who comes to pit road. You would expect the majority. Will we see the 25 Andretti Autosport Honda of Oriol Servia, Justin Wilson's old car, stay out to lead this race?
As much as the start of this race was a huge relief for Juan Pablo Montoya, this yellow is critical as Saavedra stays out, Andretti stays out, Servia stays out, Canan, Bourdais. Juan Montoya has to be very careful, just like on the start, on a full course stop. Let's watch.
And Townsend, what they didn't want is yellow flag pit stops because of their pit location around the bend, and he's going to have to go around Briscoe, who just came in. He's loose in the S's, so he wants a rear tire adjustment. Katie?
This is not what Scott Dixon wanted to see. He was hoping for a green to checkered race because he's the best at saving fuel, Jan.
For Graham Rahal, they've decided to not make any changes to the car. Oh, now they did decide. Oh, there's a problem. Wow. That was not what they wanted. That was some miscommunication for Graham Rahal. They were going to make a wing adjustment. Then they decided not to. Then the front left wheel gun looked like it was on too long. That was lucky he even got launched out of here.
What a stop from Target Chip Ganassi and Scott Dixon. Straight to the front. Leapfrogs Power and Newgarden to climb the hill first ahead of those guys. Now remember that Saavedra, Andretti, Servia, and many more stayed out. Check out this. Jan was just talking about in the Rahal pit.
Looked like something happened on the left front here. You can see the mechanic didn't quite get the nut spun off the threads. He pulled his gun off and the nut stayed there. Then he's trying to get front wing out. You called it earlier, Paul. He was loose, so they're trying to take front wing out and balance the car.
I tell you what, that was some kind of a stop by the Dixon crew. It'd be interesting to see if they took full load of fuel or short filled it to get the lead.
So these are the cars and drivers who did not stop. Sebastian Saavedra enjoying a really promising day in the AFS Ganassi car. The open wheel action continues here on your home of motorsport. Next weekend, the Formula One World Championship returns, and it is the Italian Grand Prix from the legendary Monza. You can see the race 7:30 a.m. Eastern next Sunday right here on NBCSN. Isn't that a beautiful picture? Still under caution here at Sonoma Raceway, the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma, the 16th and final round, the championship determining round. And that last round of stops, boy, what a stop from Target Chip Ganassi, and Katie's there.
It was a great one for Scott Dixon, who jumped several positions, and on his stand is Michael. Michael, what went so well during that stop that allowed Scott to jump so many positions?
Well, our Target guys just did a great job like they always do. You know, they practice hour and hour to do what you guys just saw on TV for 6 seconds. We think this is a 3-stop race, and we always tell the guys, in this case, we said to them, you know what, today we just need 18 seconds of your time. So they just gave us the first 6.
All right, thanks, Mike. Kevin?
Well, the reason for this caution is because Luca Filippi was slowing to a stop. It's a throttle sensor problem. They're still trying to address it. They are hoping they can get him back out on track. Very frustrating because he had been moving up. He said, I wasn't hoping for any kind of a strange caution race. I think a straightforward race. We have the pace to move forward. And he moved from 13th to 9th before the problems, Marty.
Let's talk to Tim Cindric, who told us Will Power, he's coming down pit road. We'll pit here, see what happens. Do you unleash him, or do you make him in fuel save mode now?
I'd love to think we can pass the guys in front of us. They've been out there for 14 or 15 laps, but I'm not sure. We're kind of stuck here with this lap because you really can't do it in one more stop from here, and it's real difficult to pass here. So it's unfortunate that yellow happened when it did. I think it caught all the championship leaders out, and honestly didn't look like there was a reason for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be very interesting to see those fast guys starting mid-pack. This is going to be fun to watch, isn't it?
Oh, boy.
It'll be really good. If they decide they can't make it on one more stop, I think it's close, but you'd have to save a ton of fuel. That means they're going to have to go like crazy to get through the field.
Yes, they will.
I think the thing you're going to see here is that if this goes 6, 8, 10 laps and they get another yellow, effectively everybody would pit again, and it would just basically sort the field out to where it is now. And let's hope that Servia and Justin Wilson's car could maybe get a podium.
1-1-1.
It would reset it, ostensibly. Ready to go back to racing. Let's do it here in the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. Sebastian Saavedra leads the field to green. Marco Andretti thought about it. He thinks about it again. Kanaan up the inside of Servia. It's Saavedra up the hill for the first. Andretti, Kanaan, Servia, Bourdais.
Look at Graham Rahal, rodeo ride. I think he passed one, maybe two cars around the outside.
Looked at this on the start. It looked like Montoya got into the back of somebody at the hairpin and hit somebody. So I don't know if Montoya got some damage to his front wing, but these guys are swarming all over James Jakes.
It wasn't Rahal. Oh boy.
It's Power. That's Will Power.
Power's off.
Keep it running, bud. Keep it running.
Something broken on the car laying in the middle of the track. So he's got a broken front wing.
Looks like he might have had a little help there from behind, losing it on the exit like that.
Yeah, that's the problem. When you get back in these lapped cars, slower cars, you get impatient. You want to get by them, and he might have got caught out and touched wheels with somebody and spun it around.
And as Power gets going,
bump started it rolling down the hill, so he was stalled. Lucky that he was able to roll down the hill and start it. But he's got damage on the back there. Might have got tagged by somebody and spun around.
So while we went back to green briefly for about a quarter of a lap, back under yellow here, and Will Power tries to clean things up on his tires. Luca Filippi, you can see, is back out on track as well. What happened to the reigning series champion? On board with Juan Pablo Montoya. Don't tell me the teammates collide. Surely not. Oh, they do.
What did I tell you?
Oh,
it looked
boy.
like he had damage to that bumper and got tagged and spun around.
well, I think Montoya didn't know what Power was going to do there, so he sort of left the door open with Filippi there, and then just came across the bow.
The two is, I think it might have damaged Montoya's front wing as well, because a piece of the wing flew off here. As you see right here, boom, see the front wing? Broke the front wing, so that's a problem for Montoya as well.
It's all of a sudden gotten very interesting.
Teammates, championship contenders collide. Look up ahead. The view from Graham Rahal's car. Bang.
So that was actually Newgarden ahead with Power behind. They both sort of outbraked themselves and slid wide of the apex. Montoya, as you would expect, just went for it. And we saw this earlier, right? When, who was it that had to pit with the front wing damage? Castroneves. It was that exact same piece broken in the exact same way, and they had to pit for a new front wing.
Now Scott Dixon was pretty racy as well on that restart, looking to capitalize. You heard Mike Hull say, actually, pardon me, it was Tim Cindric say we hope to pass those positions. Let's ride on board with Dixon. Turn it up and have a listen.
I think he's going to go to the outside here. I called it as Rahal, but it was the other red car, Dixon, here. Can't quite do it. Then watch what happens at the next set of corners. Sets up wide there so he can cut down low.
James Jakes up ahead, tries to dive to the inside of Jakes. Can he force him wide? He can't. And right behind this camera view is where it all went wrong for the two Penske men. Oh boy, as we broach the halfway mark of the season finale, did you think that would happen? Teammates and title contenders colliding.
Again, we've seen this time and time again, as we see Castroneves come to the pits, yellows breed yellows. These guys will get anxious, and the longer this plays out, these guys stay out, and we see Montoya come for a wing. So this is really going to be costly for Montoya.
Rahal stays out. RHR as well. So there's Castroneves. This is his third time to pit road. Kev?
Montoya was running 14th, and he said, I'm going to lose about 8 spots, aren't I? They're going to do fuel, and they're going to change the front wing as well. Juan Pablo Montoya, and everything is shaking up right here with this, Marty.
And his teammate Will Power coming down pit road. He has not said a word on the radio other than to confirm that he was coming down pit road. And you see him coming very slowly down pit road to his team. They're going to put on sticker blacks here. No real damage to the car that they're worried about. They did have a front wing out in case he got damaged when he went through that grass. Quick stop for these guys. But again, a lot of track position to make up. It's going to make things very interesting.
Is something as innocuous as that slight collision going to cost a championship? We will find out. Is that the turning point, pardon the pun, of this race? We'll be back. Can't encourage you enough not to go anywhere. This championship is far from decided. Look at this. Rahal, he's been as close as 9 points away from Juan Pablo Montoya, and that 34-point lead is in jeopardy as they run at the moment. Rahal has reduced that gap to just 10. No action taken from race control. It was a self-penalizing incident between Will Power and Juan Pablo Montoya.
And that points championship is about to get even more interesting as soon as the first 8 cars that haven't pitted since lap 22 have to peel off. It looks like they're going to go for the restart here, but all of a sudden that championship's going to be wide open. So brace yourself. Here we go.
Keep your eye on that red car, the first all-red car you can see. There it is there. It's Scott Dixon. Let's get ready to go back to racing here at Sonoma. Let's do it. Saavedra, Andretti, and Canal, they climb the hill first. And watch in the background. The guys who are vying for this championship will be making some pretty slick moves. Already, Dixon tries to work on Gabby Chavez.
And I think Scott Dixon there in the target car only needs to make high percentage moves. Things will come his direction here. He's got to protect the car. If the pass is very high percentage, he'll make it, but he will not take a risk.
He's setting one up.
And
that's a pretty low percentage one right there.
Oh, that was good.
Dive under the inside.
Gabby Chavez got wide in the carousel. He made a good, clean pass. Now he's got a buffer to Newgarden. He'll go to work on Pagano. Now Pagano gave Scott Dixon a hard time at Mid-Ohio by just going slow enough to hold him up.
To bring him back a little bit. Look how hard Rahal's working as he tries to make ground on Joseph Newgarden. Thinks about it in this final chicane complex. Can't quite do it. It's been a great day for both those guys. Pit hiccup, though, for Graham Rahal will be costly. Bourdais on the inside of Oriol Servia.
Oh, and there you saw it. Scott Dixon had a look on Pagano, but he wasn't sure if the door was going to get slammed. He had to back out.
And look at this, Kimball trying to play the team game as well. Also trying to get in there and muscle Rahal out. You can't imagine what it's like to be a single car team fighting 2 4-car teams, Team Penske and Ganassi, for this title. And they're ganging up on Rahal. Meanwhile, Dixon continues to work away on Simon Pagano.
Pagano got a little bit loose coming off of that corner, so he might try to get Dixon will make a move here. If he can just get the drive, touched a little bit of the curbs, that cost him on the exit right there.
Simon Pagano is going to have to pit in about the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 laps here.
Get the wheel 4.
Significant difference in their strategy. Dixon pitted on 35. Look at these guys here. Kimball's not done with Rahal. He's roughing him up. Graham's having nothing of it.
That looked to me like Rahal roughing up Kimball at the corner exit, saying, hey, I'm going for the championship, pal, against your teammate. Get out of the way.
Yeah, nowhere to go for Kimball on the outside of that corner, so it was a pretty brave move by Kimball to even try it, but you got to be careful. You got to keep these wings on the cars. A little touch like Montoya will put you at the back of the field.
2012 winner here in Sonoma. Ryan Briscoe we ride with. Check this out.
So we see Kimball here. Rahal blocks the inside, which leaves the outside open for Kimball, and he's hanging tough, hanging tough, hanging up. Then they start banging wheels right here. And Kimball runs out of room.
Used to do that to me when I was a rookie.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right.
Just remember it.
Joseph Newgarden has been quietly achieving today. Here's Kanan on race leader Saavedra. Yep, and Sebastian gives TK plenty of room.
That's a teammate move there. You know, Sebastian's had a great day so far. He says teammates on fresher tires. He had the move, gave it to him, didn't lose any time switching the orders, so that was a smart move by Saavedra.
How do you reckon those arms and shoulders of Oriol Servias are feeling at the moment?
No, I begged him to take 5 Advil before the race because I know firsthand what that's like to come off the couch totally unprepared, last second call, and a big salute to Oriol Servia for taking on the challenge and recognizing just such an outstanding person in Justin Wilson and doing it for the family.
Gabby Chavez is the first to dive there. You saw him just come to pit road. So he last pitted on lap 22 as we race lap 46. We're over the halfway mark.
So as these guys pit, Saavedra, Andretti, Bourdais, they're all going to pit in the next lap or two. We're going to watch the championship scenario change. Right now, Graham Rahal would be only 10 points back, Dixon only 15 back, but that's going to change quickly here with each pit stop.
Where is Juan Pablo Montoya? 22nd. Where is Will Power? 23rd. We ride with Montoya now. A collision between the two Penske teammates right here at this corner. And that's the view.
And there's Will Power hanging onto the tail there out back. And look at that. Look at Power lose the downforce that far back going into the carousel.
I'll tell you what, with the Penske team with 3 cars in the top 5 in the championship, and 3 of those cars eligible to win, if they don't pull this off, that will be a monumental letdown for the end of the season.
And guys, here's the tough part. These cars are all the way in the back. It's extremely difficult to pass here at Sonoma. In fact, Tim Cindric told Will Power a moment ago, you have your worst set of tires on right now. Just manage them as best you can. But Townsend, the task for these guys trying to pass their way up through some cars and maybe get to the front, obviously with Montoya keeping the championship in the back of the mind, that's a monumental task, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's next to impossible unless the guy in front makes a huge mistake. Oh, whoa, as we see Munoz get into the wall with the left rear in a battle for position with Vautier, I believe that is. Doesn't look like he has the white walled left rear, Paul, so maybe that was just dust flying up between.
He stuffed it down the inside and ran really wide and was trying to put the power down, and obviously kept it down until he used the wall to stop going any further.
Guys, I won't name names, but there were 3 people who told me on pit lane earlier this weekend who were from teams in championship contending positions, said, you know who we're watching more than anybody this weekend? Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon could spoil our championship hopes. And he sits in the most prominent position of those who pitted most recently, of the top running guys. There he is. If Dixon wins this race, Rahal is immediately eliminated. If Dixon wins this race, Montoya needs to finish 6th. With Dixon having the bonus points. Any worse than 6th, it's Dixon's 4th championship.
And you asked me to pick a wild card before the start of the race. What did I say?
Did you say Dixon?
I said Dixon. Well, and for good reason. Why? Because every championship of the last 10 years, he's a factor.
And
he's always there.
He's chased him down from behind,
always.
too. He's never been the leader all the way through. He always comes from behind. So this is a guy who fights and fights and fights till the checkered flag drops.
And he just doesn't make the big mistake. You just never see him in those contacts like we saw with the restart, or getting flustered, or big hand movements behind the wheel. He is just always in the zone and in the window for optimal performance.
Oh, Sebastian Bourdais on the inside of Marco Andretti, turn 7, whoa, way wide. As they continue their individual fight, we're waiting on the likes of Saavedra, Bourdais, Andretti, and Servia, even Pagano and Sato to dive for pit road. And that is going to change the complexion of this championship massively in favor of Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal. We'll update you when that happens. We're fast approaching lap 50 of this 85 lapper. There's Saavedra and Andretti. They're both on the same strategy. So too Serbia and Sato.
Now we get to see the championship points situation, Kevin.
Sebastian Saavedra coming in. You see Marco Andretti right behind him as well. Saavedra running in second position, but he's going to have to stop one more time. As far as Marco Andretti is concerned, they're going to reds this time. We're going to do a short stint and a longer stint on the final stint on blacks.
With those guys cycling through for their respective stops, how big did that change the championship? Down to 4 points, the difference between Montoya and Rahal, and Dixon only 9 points back as they run at the moment. This thing is getting more and more interesting with every lap.
And it'll change again here shortly as Cadon, Bourdais, and Pagenaud have stops coming up.
Look at that. Remember, he came in, he being Juan Pablo Montoya, came into this championship finale with a 34-point advantage. Montoya still sits buried in 17th place, Power 18th, languishing down in the teens with a whole lot of work to do after that pretty innocent spin. There was a little confusion there between the teammates. Montoya tagged Power, who ran wide through turn 4. He went around. There was damage on both cars. And how costly will that damage be? Bourdais now cycles through. Likewise, Pagenaud. And that with those guys coming in and cycling through, Scott Dixon at the moment is the new championship leader.
With Graham Rahal only 3 points to the back, and now Montoya would run third in the championship as they run right now.
If you haven't been with us all season long as Bourdais gets serviced and sent, here's Pagenaud.
And the points will cycle again. Pagenaud gets a wing adjustment. Cars haven't not been that bad. 8-7 on the stop for these guys. Remember, he lost all that track position earlier, stopping to let his teammate Will Power out. Simon Pagenaud pits here at lap 49.
If you haven't been with us all season long, there's a very simple story thread. Montoya has been the championship leader from the very first race to now. And it's changed. Scott Dixon, for the first time in 2015. This man right here holds the point advantage, racing lap 50 of 85.
And he is saving fuel. You can hear him lift off the throttle and coast big time going into that brake zone. And he will have to save fuel to make it on one more stop. Listen to that.
Smooth and the king at saving fuel. And he knows what it's like to stand in this position. He's done it 3 times. Quick reminder that next weekend, NBC is going back in time with a full weekend of NASCAR racing from Darlington, and a tribute to the 70s. Coverage begins at Saturday at 3 Eastern with the Xfinity Series race, Sprint Cup Sunday at 7. NASCAR on NBC, that 70s tribute. I've seen Marty Snyder's stick-on sideburns and safari suit. Can't wait to see it. This battle's been going on for quite a while. Charlie Kimball, Graham Rahal, watch this.
Kimball's always ultra aggressive, as well as Graham Rahal. And look at that, down the inside, almost some contact as they turn in. But that was smart of Graham just to not get too tangled up in that.
Well, Kimball knows that every point he can score ahead of Graham Rahal helps Scott Dixon as we come down the stretch.
Dixon's already got a bonus point for leading a lap. The most laps led in this race, Will Power at 26. Dixon would dearly like to get that, and he can. Hanging in there as we ride again with Rahal. Points have fluctuated again massively just on pit stop rotation. Dixon would lead this championship at the moment to the tune of 20 over Montoya.
So many team tactics as we see Montoya trying to slice his way back through the field. He's behind Jakes. He's got Munoz in front of him. Jakes all sideways out of the corner, so he can't mess around with these guys. These guys have nothing to lose and everything to gain by trying to stay in front of Montoya.
But Montoya has to mess around with these guys because right now it's not going to happen where he runs. He's going to have to make positions.
We see Castroneves just up in front. Juan Montoya as we get later down into the race. Will there be team orders now that Castroneves has had some problems? Is he going to help his teammate? This is all playing out. We've got team tactics with Kimball helping his teammate. You know, the Ganassi guys are all working in unison for Dixon to win the championship, and we still have the Penske guys have been fighting each other and the contact with power, which has affected Montoya's championship bid.
Now he has a run. Montoya comes up the tail of Jakes, goes to the inside. This should be a clean pass.
It's a key overtaking point on this Sonoma Raceway circuit, and fairly straightforward there for Montoya. Every position counts big time for the Colombian. Jakes looks like he was going to come back there on Montoya and then thought about it again. Dixon leads to the tune of 4.1 seconds over Joseph Newgarden and then Charlie Kimball. So two Ganassi cars in the top three. Then Ray Hall, Briscoe, Hunter Ray, Coletti, and
move here.
Hawksworth.
This is another move. He lined that one up perfectly.
Easily done.
Whoa, and further back, Will Power defending on Kanaan. That was close to some contact.
Team tactics right here. Kanaan's got nothing to lose. He's not in the championship fight, so he's going to fight these Penske guys as hard as he can to help Dixon.
Oh, the Ganassi guys have just turned it on. They have just turned it on in support of their teammate Scott Dixon.
Yeah, look at Saavedra right there. He's gonna press onto Power as well. Look at this.
Well, Kanaan's job now is try to pass Jakes and Munoz and get to Montoya.
Montoya is in 11th. And he's reduced that gap with those two moves on Dixon's championship lead, provisional championship lead, to 16.
I can't imagine what it's like for Montoya to have led all season, and now he's the one chasing the points.
Crazy, isn't it? Here we go, Saavedra on the inside.
Yep.
The Ganassi guys are ganging up on Team Penske.
No room out there. You got to be careful. Saavedra has nothing to lose at all.
Looks like Munoz is really struggling. Here comes Kanaan.
Final 30 laps of this race right now. 30 laps left in the 2015 season. Jakes and Munoz. Kanaan gets a good view of that, and he might get a good run off this corner.
He's going to get both of them here.
Get 2 for 1. If he can stay to the outside, he'll have the advantage in turn 2. Whoa, that's tight.
That's brave.
All the way.
That is brave right there.
40-year-old Tony Kanaan. There is no stopping him.
That was a great drive. That was a great drive.
Yes, it was. So Tony Kanaan with another position gain. He's into 12th. What did you think of that, Robin Miller?
Well, he drives pretty aggressive for a 40-year-old lead, but he said before the race, you know, I just want to get to the 100th Indy 500 next year, so I hope Chip hires me. And he said it's looking pretty good for next year, being back with Team Ganassi. So I think we'll see that announcement here pretty quick.
Bourdais made very quick work of Munoz. Here comes Saavedra. He's not done with yet. Saavedra and Andretti have had a good race today together, haven't they?
Oh, it's been a terrific battle. As Saavedra gets the inside of Munoz, Andretti looks to follow, and he'll have the position.
Scott Dixon.
Good job there, buddy. Great job. Good fuel number last lap as well. 30 to go.
If he is in fuel-saving mode, which you imagine he is, here he is. He's doing a Mid-Ohio. He's in fuel-save mode, but he's gaining, he's putting time on his opponents. As we pick up the Chevrolet driver update, where those top guys are placed, 1, 2, 3, it's as simple as that. And Dixon now boasts a 5-second lead. Oh, it's getting scrappy back here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Power's really having trouble. He's getting attacked by Bourdais. He's got Saavedra all over him on the outside, so he's on his worst tires of the weekend and really paying the price for it now.
Marty?
And those tires flat, worn out. Tim Cindric said you have to keep these guys behind you. Use push to pass, use your overtake, whatever you need to keep all those guys behind you. But, you know, PT, it's tough when those guys are on the newer tires. It's almost impossible with all the tire degradation we're seeing this weekend.
Well, and trying to push to the limit and use the push to pass makes the tires even worse. So it's a double whammy. The harder you try to keep the guys behind you, the harder it is to keep the tires under it.
Now, Kanaan has closed on Montoya. Montoya's being held up by Gonzalez. And now, if Kanaan can get to Montoya, that could cause big headaches.
And we have seen in the past that Rodolfo Gonzalez can make that Dale coin car pretty wide.
He's there.
Canaan on the inside of Montoya. Into that final chicane.
Through here.
Whew.
Wow.
That was a smart move by Canaan to go to the inside in the dirt. He knew that they were going to have contact. Montoya turned in on him, and he said, oh, I'm not going to make contact, but he gets by here.
Ganassi on Penske. Just like that. Canaan, Kimball, Saavedra, and Dixon putting on quite the display for Chip Ganassi today.
Canaan could have easily booted Montoya out of the way, and he decided to take the dirt.
And I'll call that taking the high road here.
And if you're wondering why Juan Pablo Montoya is back in the field, it's because of this. Contact with his teammate earlier in the race. Both himself and Will Power, his teammate, back in the field, playing the catch-up game. However, that catch-up has come to a standstill because the likes of Canaan, etc., and now Bourdais are all ganging up on Montoya. The guy who's led the championship the entire year suddenly finds himself in an inferior position. James Jakes off at the carousel.
Looks like he just narrowly avoided hitting anything as Canaan gets around Gonzalez there. Jakes is back on track. Somebody else is off there down at the chicane.
Looks like Graham's got some kind of problem going on here. He just got passed by.
I wonder if Graham went off the track.
Anywhere, 'cause I'm just gonna spin.
Graham saying, I can't brake anywhere else, I'm just gonna spin. I think the rear tire degradation issue he's been dealing with all day, he's been loose everywhere, and he's certainly gonna have that on the brakes too, locking up rears. You can see it there.
Loose in, yeah. Locked the rears on entry. He was correcting, could never even attempt to turn into the corner. So his rear tires are gone.
This is an area of the track where the drivers have had a real challenge this week with that tailwind, PT. Just pushing them into that final chicane, and it's been a real handful to arrest the speed.
I'll tell you what, I don't think that was a tailwind. That was like McDowan backing it into the corner with the rear end stepped out. That's what that was.
Dixon, 6.5 seconds to the good at the top of this field. And he will be due to come in. Here he is. Let's talk more about Scott Dixon with Katie Hargett. Katie?
Yeah, Lee, Scott's team just came over the radio and said, we're still a ways away from a pit stop, but tell us about the car. Scott said, the car is perfect. They said, great deal. Just stay on cruise control and keep working those fuel numbers as hard as you can.
It's a point that you could argue, but I don't think there's anybody better in IndyCar at saving fuel and running up front than Scott Dixon. Second place, Joseph Newgarden for CFH Racing on pit road. He's had a brilliant race today. It's not enough at the moment for him to do anything about this championship victory. However, he's en route to his best championship result in his young IndyCar career. Marty?
And Lee, you mentioned the terrific drive for Joseph Newgarden. He's kept it in the top 5 the entire day. In fact, run second for much of this afternoon. They had talked about, Kimball's already gone, a wing adjustment here. He waved that off. They're going to put as much Sunoco fuel as they can.
Oh!
He stalls it. He stalls it. They're going to have to pull it back and crank it back up. You
oh,
see
fire!
going by here.
Fire!
Fire on the car as well. They're going to put that out. They have gotten the fire taken care of, and now they're going to crank the car up, and this is a disastrous pit stop for the scene. This morning, Joseph and I were talking about they've had the speed all year long. What they have lacked is execution. This is another example of that. This certainly helps the Penske teams, though. They're still trying to get this 67 car cranked up, trying their best to get it cranked up, and cannot get it done for Joseph Newgarden. Their hands are in the air as if they cannot get it done. And Scott Dixon now coming down pit road. So this is a very interesting turn of events here in this race.
Matches the stint done by Oriol Servia at some 27 laps.
Be careful with Dixon coming down the pit lane with these guys pushing the car.
Very hard to start these cars like that.
Scott Dixon comes in from the lead, and he would win his very 4th championship. He just needs a good, clean stop, filled up with Sunoco fuel, and he's down and away.
Smooth and efficient.
Help him out, Robbie.
Just like that. Is that Scott Dixon's final stop before he becomes a 4-time champion? It would seem so, but this race has had some interesting twists and turns.
This will be the final stop for Graham Rahal, and he's been on the radio saying this is stupid, meaning that his rear tires were gone, but they had to wait for this window to open. Look to see if they take out more front wing. These are brand new sticker red. There you go. Take out some front wing, and he saved these tires. As far as I know, there are very few people who have sticker brand new red alternate Firestones to use, but he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Well, he'll be super fast on his outlap as we see Newgarden still stuck on pit lane. Guys, how many times have we seen this? I mean,
I don't understand
why
they can't get the starter plugged into. What happened?
They might have stripped the nut.
Yeah, stripped it out.
And look at this, not only has the target car got clean air, he's got his teammate behind him. Now, finally, Joseph Newgarden's GoPro machine for CFH Racing gets going.
Points again has swung the other way. Now Montoya's in the lead.
Well, I think that's about to update as soon as Dixon crosses the line.
Ryan Hunter-Reay on pit road.
And he will come and get some Sunoco fuel as well. But again, you want to get it topped off all the way to the top, and this will take you to the end. Ryan Hunter-Reay, we've talked about the way that the momentum has shifted, the way the car has been so much better than when they couldn't get it going on road and street courses earlier in the season. And you can watch, so interesting when you see that display change. Kevin?
Final pit stop of the season for Juan Pablo Montoya, who has led from the opening, but it's slipping away here. He needs to work his way up to 6 somehow to score enough points, and Dixon wins. He's taking the primary Firestones. Montoya away, hoping that those that pitted a couple of laps earlier maybe can't make it to the end if it stays green, but we think they're going to be good.
Marco Andretti makes his final stop. Yeah, that last stint from Scott Dixon is very telling. As we fast approach the last 20 laps, Dixon went for 27, including caution, of course, but here he is. Clear air, clear track, and a teammate right behind. He couldn't ask for it to be any better. The three-time champion. He's already created his own special piece of IndyCar history. Is he about to do more? James Jakes has just taken a wild ride. You see his car down the bottom of the screen there. Obviously, the Englishman is okay. And let's show you what will be a pretty frightening ride. Look mid-screen, look to the right, look to the right.
And that does not look like a guy that just lost it under braking. Something went wrong there, Paul.
Yeah, he came on the radio and said he had brake failure, so the car did a hard left-hand turn into the wall, so he was not going to stop, and it just lost control.
Almost looked like the front brakes failed on him.
All right, so we're under yellow for the third time today. Scott Dixon is your race leader and is good to go on fuel and tires to the very end. There will be a mad dive for the pits for some. For others, however, like Juan Pablo Montoya, who recently pitted before this yellow, it's going to help the driver of the number 2 Team Penske Chevrolet, and it's going to tighten up this scenario for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, right now Montoya sits 17th on the track, but there's about 6 people in front of him that I think are going to duck for pit lane. I think he'll move up to about 11th here.
Stay with me here. It's a little bit complex. If Dixon wins and gets 3 bonus points, which if he leads for another 13 laps, he will get all 3 bonus points. If he wins with the 3 bonus points and Montoya finishes 6th, they'll be tied. But Dixon will win it on a tieback of wins.
Do you mind texting?
On a countback of wins.
Can you text that to me? Just, I can't do the math like you can.
You're more than capable. So we'll see. Like we said right at the very top of the show at IndyCar Live, so many championship permutations, combinations for everybody. One thing's for sure, over these final 20 laps, it's sure going to be interesting. Championship Day here in Sonoma in Northern California. Isn't that a sight? So we came in today with 6 contenders for this Verizon IndyCar Series Championship. Graham Rahal was one of the favorites. sitting second coming into today's final race. It's been a frustrating day for Rahal so far, highlighted by Liz. Have a listen.
I don't know what's going on, guys, and I'm sorry. I wish I could help the rear of this car. This car is just absolutely unbelievably bad today. I mean, I almost spun in the hairpin going 20 miles an hour, not even on throttle.
It has been a tough one for Graham, that's for sure. He will soldier on as we show you the Chevrolet driver profile, and he will continue to do the best he can. So, speaking of some of the Chevrolet drivers, look at these guys. Elio, JPM, Scott Dixon, Joseph Newgarden. He's a good all-round athlete, this young man. He can do a little bit of everything, and Will Power was there as well, having some fun with the Giants. World Championship winning Giants, we should say.
There's a black flag, Lee, for somebody there. I don't know if you noticed that at timing and scoring, but they were given a very pronounced black flag to somebody there in the top 5 or 6. Anyways, points as they run.
And how they have changed. We understand it was the 4 of Stefano Coletti receiving the black flag, and we understand he has lost radio communication with his team. So, what do you make of this one, Paul Tracy?
This is an unbelievable event for the Ganassi team. They've got all 4 of their cars now in front of Montoya, so it's going to make it extremely difficult for the Penske team to really do anything, because they've got to fight all the rest of the teammates to Dixon.
And while there was a pretty harsh crash suffered by one of the Schmidt-Peterson entries in James Jakes, how about Ryan Briscoe? Has very quietly snuck his way up into 4th position. Here he is in the Arrow machine. And he's on the same sequence, the same strategy as Scott Dixon, the race leader, last pitted at lap 62. These cautions will help. Well and truly can make it to the end, no worries. And that will be a nice result. Remember Ryan's role this year of filling in for the injured James Hinchcliffe. Hinch is here, incidentally. And looking forward to getting into a car maybe even before the end of the year. His rehab continues. He's over his final surgery. I have to say, from when we first saw Hinch return to the track at Toronto to now, he looks so much healthier.
Oh, it's terrific. He's got his color back. He's enthusiastic. But this guy now is really under pressure to just pull a rabbit out of his hat, Paul, here on this restart.
Yeah, not get in trouble. You can't do anything silly. You know, that last restart with Power, that was, you know, not a smart move to have that happen, especially to both of them. So let's see what happens here.
Ready to go. Scott Dixon will lead this field to green. It's the end of the 3rd. Yellow, let's go. Canaan pops out of the inside right alongside Ryan Briscoe. What a move that was. That's a power move from Tony Canaan on Briscoe.
Our 2 dark horses, you picked Dixon, I picked Hunter Ray. 1-2 right now, so well, let's see what happens.
Roll up your sleeves, because we're going to battle here to the finish. This is great stuff here. And what a pass by Canaan. He did it on the outside earlier. Now he went to the inside, and Hunter Ray gets wide there, exiting turn 5.
Throws a blanket of dust over the rest of the field. Everybody got through fine. Look at Montoya looking racy back there. He does not want to be there. Back in that 11th position, he climbed to 10th. Now doing the chasing up the hill to the hairpin. Key overtaking point, couldn't quite do it. Oh, the ABC machine there. Oh,
that's
that was Jack Hawksworth
on Munoz, and Munoz is going to be beached. This will be a yellow.
Another yellow. Hey, listen, we saw the ABC supply car there of Jack Hawksworth involved in that, and Takuma Sato went around the outside.
He's not going to go anywhere.
As Munoz will need to be rescued. That was Paul Ziggy Harkis, his engineer, saying, keep your foot in it, but he's going to need to be buried. Speaking of the AJ Foyt Racing team and the ABC Supply guys, we want to say thank you and farewell to Don Halliday, legendary engineer, friend of so many people, Dario Franchitti's first race engineer. He will be leaving the sport on a full-time basis, leaving Foyt after an amazing career spanning more than 3 decades.
They're going to try to keep this under green and keep this local, so these guys are going to be down to the hairpin pretty quick, and if they don't get that car, oh, here we go, full course now. So they waited a little bit to try to get that car, but that was going to be dicey.
It was going to take the world's strongest man competition to move that thing. Kevin?
Keep in mind, this is 2 more spots for Juan Pablo Montoya. This championship is not done yet. John Boslog on his radio just told him a moment ago, we think Dixon's going to get all the bonus points. We're probably looking at 5th. One of the things he said all along is that Montoya has been great all year at continuing to fight no matter where they're at, and that's what he reminded him of. Keep doing what we've been doing. And here's some other conversation a moment ago on the radio.
The car is terrible right now, so I think, you know, it's not that I'm giving up, but it's freaking impossible, you know?
Car is a handful in a nutshell.
Well, we've got a Chevy car in front of him. If there's any type of manufacturer tactics, Ray Hall's struggling. He says he can barely keep it on track. I mean, if he could, it's 2 positions he's got to get.
If he gets up to 5th, even if Dixon wins with the bonus points, if Montoya gets to 5th, he will win this championship. So while we're under yellow, let's get you up to speed if you're just turning on with a race recap of this championship decider. Graham Rahal was in the thick of it right from the start, starting on the 3rd row of the grid. Look at this scramble. Oh, contact there with Scott Dixon. He was on his way through from position 9, and Kanan wanted to gang up on him as well. It was a pretty frantic start, but nobody crashed on that opening lap. A bizarre incident in pit lane on lap 14.
Simon Pagenaud holds up on pit lane, just stops to help out his teammate, but that forces Newgarden to sit and wait before he can launch.
The first yellow of the day came on lap 32, and Paul Tracy, you were surprised by this.
Yeah, it was really an odd yellow because the car was running. He limped all the way around, and they threw the full course yellow, and that really upset Tim Cindric.
What about this? Team Penske, Montoya and Power, teammates collide, and this had a huge impact.
I've done that before, and that does not make the captain very happy.
So Montoya was forced to pit road for a new front wing assembly. Both he and his teammate from Team Penske came in Will Power, and then this most recently with Joseph Newgarden from 2nd position in the race.
Oh, just the worst of all circumstances. He stalls the car trying to leave, then it catches on fire, then they can't get the car to start with the manual starter. They try to push start it, just a disaster for Newgarden.
James Jakes for Schmidt-Peterson had this crash. I can tell you that James is all right, but it was frightening at the end of the back straight. That was the 2nd to last caution. We're now onto our 4th full course yellow for a total of 13 laps. It's been kind of a stop-start affair the second half of this race. Let's get it to Katie.
Scott Dixon told me before this race they needed a lot of luck to fall their way in order to win this championship, and that luck has fallen their way with great pit stops and the yellows as well. You heard me say earlier that Scott told his team his car was great. Now his team just came over the radio and said, we don't need you to save any more fuel. Lee?
So he can go full attack mode to the end, the closing 14 laps, not only of this race, but the 2015 championship. It's Ganassi versus Penske. Who will come out on top?
And as things run right now, I think as you said earlier, Montoya has to get to 5th. Now, interesting, who does he have to pass? He's got to pass Bourdais straight up on blacks.
A Honda, Rahal, who's struggling.
Rahal's on reds, Briscoe is on reds, and I think under these temperatures and these conditions, it's going to be awfully hard, especially as bad as Rahal says his car is, but Montoya's car is not very good either.
Right. So you've got a Chevrolet in Bourdais and 2 Hondas in Rahal and Briscoe.
Yep. But Chevrolet right now is leading the championship with Dixon.
So there you go. There are you guys. And there is the championship hopeful right there, Montoya.
But things are not just in isolation with that group with Montoya. What if Hunter Ray can pass Dixon on a restart? That changes things incredibly.
Absolutely. Dixon has been very effective on the restarts, though. Paul, you've been impressed with that. He's skipped away a couple of times very nicely.
Yeah, Dixon has been in control now for the second half of the race. So he's full fuel now. He's got good tires under him. He's in control. Hunter Ray's not going to do anything silly. The danger zone here is Kimball, Kanan, Briscoe, Rahal, Bourdais. These guys they're all fighting for a good finish.
And look at the black buildup. The tire marbles blow off their tires there as they accelerate to try to clean them. That's what makes these restarts so tough late in the race, is the pickup on the tires.
If you're going to see one thing happen, one thing for sure, in addition to Scott Dixon just giving it hammer time is Charlie Kimball and Tony Kanaan gang up on Ryan Hunter-Reay. 3 Ganassi cars in the top 4 positions. Get ready to go. The championship coming to a close, and we see the green flag at Sonoma. Scott Dixon wants to get away from Ryan Hunter-Reay, get out in some clear space, get away, and consolidate this spot at the top. Montoya, the red and white car, right there, chasing Sebastian Bourdais.
Wow, look at the gap that Dixon put on Hunter-Reay in 2 corners. That is impressive.
He got told, you're good for fuel, go for it to the end. He's on maximum attack. There's the man now second in the championship. It feels so unfamiliar to say. Montoya doing the chasing in this championship for the first time this year.
Oh, Graham Rahal getting really ragged on the outside there, trying to hang on to that steak and shake machine.
Don't forget,
here comes Bourdais.
We got 12 laps to go. These guys were pitting from fresh tires as Bourdais making a move on Rahal. Montoya looking. But these guys have got a lot of laps to go, and these tires are already used, so there's going to be tremendous fall off in about 5 to 6 more laps.
Has no impact up front on this race or the championship. Jack Hawksworth delivered a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact with Carlos Munoz. Dixon, Hunter-Reay, Kimball, Kanaan, Briscoe, Rahal, Bourdais, and Juan Pablo Montoya. Can the Colombian get to a top 5 position?
And it doesn't look like he has much to attack with, Montoya. It looks like he's just going to see, man, does somebody make a big mistake in front of me, because he just doesn't have the grip at the back of that Verizon Chevy.
Guys, I've known Scott Dixon for many, many years. He has been in a very different mood this weekend. He's very serious about what he does. Of course he is, as a 3-time champion. But he enjoys a joke, and more often than not, he's quite lighthearted. I don't think I've seen him so pensive in quite some time. No doubt there is the Justin Wilson effect on that. And he's racing with a heavy heart for Justin. But I think
11 to go.
That he knew somewhere deep down that he was a serious chance at winning this. And it was a very different Scott Dixon than I've seen in a long time.
See the back of Graham's car looking back at Bourdais. Bourdais has a little slip there and fell back.
Well, Graham Rahal might say his car is terrible, but nobody else around him has anything better. They are all hanging on, especially to the back of the car, everywhere.
And Juan Pablo Montoya unable to do anything about the guys ahead. And right behind him is Will Power.
And we know how badly Will Power just wants to win. He doesn't keep track of points anymore. He just wants to win races. So how much is Penske telling Power, just, you got to stay there. You've got to just protect Montoya.
You know what? There's a pretty good drive going on behind these guys by Dale Coyne Racing's Rodolfo Gonzalez. He's good on fuel to the end, and he's in the 11th position, just behind Takuma Sato. Nice effort, nice run. Has not done the entire season, and is in a really good points gaining position. So Dixon leads, and if this man we see here in the Verizon Chevrolet right there, Juan Pablo Montoya, he needs to get to a top 5 spot to win this championship. 10 laps to go, and time is running out.
Paul, Montoya knows, okay, I've got to get to 5th now. I've got to pass 3 cars, but I mean, how does he do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really difficult to pass here. You've almost, the guy in front of you has got to let you by. Bourdais looking to cap his season off with another good result and to finish in the championship as he takes a little look at Rahal, but Rahal's hanging on. He wants to beat Montoya in the championship, so, you know, we're under 10 laps to go now. Time is running out.
You heard Montoya tell John Boslog, his engineer strategist, I don't think my car's that good. It's pretty terrible, to be honest. I'm doing the best I can. He said, I'm not giving up, but it's a handful. 9 laps to go now here in Sonoma to decide this 2015 championship. Can you imagine leading the series every step of the way for 15 races and seeing it evaporate at the final opportunity. Rahal, that defensive inside line. Bourdais thinks about it. Oh, and hits it.
That'll help.
Oh my goodness.
Don't let Sato get by Montoya. So that could be 2 positions. There has to be damage on Bourdais' front wing.
And that could move Montoya to 6. 1 position
and
from the championship.
And a full course yellow as well.
Looking closely at Bourdais' wing. No full course yellow. Bourdais' wing looks to be intact. I wonder if it was just the nose that just squarely hit the back of Rahal. But remember, will Bourdais get a penalty?
He might get a drive-through.
Yeah, that's clearly an avoidable contact because he was a whole car length back, outside, inside, and then squared him up.
Oh, yeah. I think we're going to see a penalty. I think
way
Montoya
that can't be a penalty.
Montoya moved to 6th.
And if Montoya finishes 6th, we've heard from race control that's under review. They're looking at it as we speak. If Montoya gets to 6th, it still won't be enough because Dixon will win on a count back of victories. They'll be in a tiebreaker situation.
Tell you what, Montoya was lucky that Graham stayed on the brake and didn't roll back into him.
I don't know if
further.
I don't know if Graham stayed on the brake at all. He was rolling. He was looking at Montoya coming by. Wow, look at that. 2 points.
As they run. That's with Montoya in 7th. If that car up ahead, the Hydroxycut machine, gets a penalty, a drive-through, or anything, it puts Montoya into 6th, an agonizing 6th. If Dixon wins, as of this lap right now, Dixon gets all those bonus points for leading the most laps and leading a lap. And if he can go on and win this race, Montoya needs to be in 5th.
I cannot believe that Sebastian's car doesn't have damage on the front. As soon as you touch one of these cars, something happens to them. No damage, so this is going to be really interesting to see what race control does.
Oh, there is damage.
Yeah, a little damage.
Right front end fence is rubbing on the ground.
I think he learned that move from me. I did that to him a few times in our careers together.
That would be the famous
That's
chrome
the
horn.
Chrome horn right there.
And you saw that points differential double because Dixon had just been awarded the 2 points for leading the most laps in this race, 27 laps over Will Powers, 26.
So Lee, here's the challenge now. Let's say Bourdais gets a drive-through penalty. There's still a 3-second gap that he has to make up on Briscoe to get even close enough to make a pass. So we understand that Dixon would just receive the bonus.
And he already has. So he gets 1 bonus point for leading a lap, 2 bonus points for leading the most laps, and the win. It puts he and Montoya in a tiebreaker situation, but Dixon has more wins on the season.
That's if Montoya can get to...
Bourdais off.
If Montoya's in 6th, he needs to get to 5th to put it beyond doubt, even if Dixon wins. That's what the crucial move is here for Montoya. But he's about 3 seconds down on Briscoe, as you were just saying, Townsend.
Bourdais got wing damage and still able to pull away from Montoya. He went off at the chicane and has pulled back away. So this, now Montoya is really struggling.
Montoya and his team should be pleading for that penalty because every lap that Bourdais out there struggling.
Drive-through penalty for avoidable.
Drive-through for Bourdais. This moves Montoya 1 position closer. Can you believe after 16 races, this championship will be decided this way? Agonizingly close, either way, whichever way it goes.
But Montoya's going to have to make a storming drive to make up that gap. He has 6 laps to make up 3.5 seconds.
Hey, push him.
This is really hurting Montoya. Briscoe or Bourdais limping, and that gap to Briscoe growing.
Coming around.
Bourdais off again.
Oh, don't go back on in front of him. Okay. Professionally lets Montoya by. Now Montoya, head down. You have to string together the best 5 laps of your life.
Let's give you the time split as Bourdais serves his penalty. Montoya runs a little wide. Let's give you the time split from Briscoe back to Montoya as they come across the line. And there it is. So, It's 3.4 seconds from Ryan Briscoe to Juan Pablo Montoya with 5 laps to go.
And I'm encouraged because Ryan Briscoe is on reds and he's hanging on. Even with Bourdais holding up Montoya, he was faster than Briscoe on that last lap.
Who do you like? Are you in the Dixon camp or the Montoya camp? Who will be crowned champion in 5 laps time?
And there comes the command from his pit lane. Keep the pressure on. Make Briscoe use those red tires up.
See, Montoya was loose on entry to the carousel. He's pushing to the limit.
That gap is at 3 seconds to Briscoe.
And the point margin has gone to 0. The reason why is Dixon and Montoya are in a tiebreaker situation. Both have won 2 races this year. This would be Dixon's 3rd. He wins on a countback of victories.
Go through the dirt, Juan. He had a lockup on entry. He's pushing, but you run through the dirt and you will cost yourself too much time.
It's comfortable up front for Dixon. 3.7 seconds over Hunter Ray. There's gap to Kimball. There's gap to Kanaan.
And now, if you really want to get into the minutia, Kimball and Kanaan need to speed up so they help Briscoe stay in front.
4 laps to go. What a finish to the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series. And this guy here, who's all style, all class, may just spring the surprise from coming from 3rd at the beginning of this race, 47 points down, to do what he has become famous for, coming from behind to be a champion again at the last opportunity.
And that last lap, Montoya took 0.6 out of Briscoe, so the gap is tightening. There's Montoya. Briscoe can easily see him in the mirrors. Montoya is coming.
It's 2.5 seconds from 3.4 a lap ago. Montoya's not done with. If he catches and passes Briscoe, the championship will be Montoya's.
And Briscoe has to be hanging on to that car, running on reds in these high temperatures, all these laps now. Montoya has the advantage, a little bit of lockup. He can't afford to make any mistake. He has to continue to keep the pressure on.
Getting closer. This will be under 2 seconds, I think. When they cross the line, this is as close as he's been. And he can smell the blood in the water. He's got to go after him like he's going after a shark.
That last lap, Montoya, 120.9. Briscoe, 121.3, another 0.4.
3 laps left in this 2015 season. Is it possible for Juan Pablo Montoya, a man who has had an amazing career? He's already an IndyCar champion. He's a 2-time Indy 500 winner, a Monaco Grand Prix winner. He's won the Rolex 24 at Daytona 3 times, and 2 of those 3 were in his first 2 attempts. He is an incredible world-class driver. And it doesn't matter what he is driving, whether it's a NASCAR Sprint Cup car or an Indy car. Can this be the fairy tale for JPM?
Paul, how much chrome does Montoya have in his horn?
The problem he's got is he's got to get there. And I think Kanaan is starting to struggle because Briscoe has closed the gap to Kanaan, and Kanaan could back these guys up.
And he won't want to, but if he has to, meaning he's just hanging on like everybody else, that helps Montoya.
Montoya just seems that agonizing distance too far from Ryan Briscoe, because this time by, there'll be just 2 laps to go. That's Dixon's already got that. He knows that. He's on his way home. Less than 5 miles, and the championship's his.
Now he's 2 seconds back right now, so as you said, Lee, these next 2 laps, it's going to take a lot for him to close the gap.
Can you imagine if Montoya is denied after leading all year by a couple of seconds and 1 pass? Think about, unfortunately for him at Iowa, suspension failure slammed him into the wall. It was a DNF. Other than that, he did everything right this season.
A big sideways off of that turn. He's pushing the car to the limit.
And didn't Montoya's first championship come on a tie? Wasn't that at Fontana with Dario? Remember, they tied and Dario had the wheel nut issue. So he's won a championship on a tie, and he doesn't want to lose one on a tie.
1.5 laps left here in Sonoma, not even. Scott Dixon is your race leader, and at this point, he's your champion-elect. But there's still another lap to go. Montoya seems to be a little closer to Briscoe. And if you're just turning on, he needs to pass that gold and black car ahead to make sure of this championship. However, that task is getting increasingly harder. One more lap left for Scott Dixon and Chip Ganassi. Do you think there's a pretty good reason why he's Ganassi's longest tenured driver? 14 years driving for Chip. And it's this reason why he always delivers. Montoya can see Briscoe, but he just can't get to him.
Oh, but he's getting close. Long lap to do for Briscoe to hang on to those red tires. They must be shagged.
He's really got two opportunities into the hairpin and into the last corner. He's nowhere near close enough now to even put the bumper to Briscoe, so he's got to get closer.
I'm watching them come out of the carousel. There goes Kanan. There goes Briscoe. Montoya.
Closer.
Oh, he's going to be close.
He's close. Closing in, getting even closer. So it's going to be the last corner where this happens.
The team will be telling Juan Pablo Montoya, this is it. Give it everything you've got. Go and get that Schmidt-Peterson Honda, and the championship's yours. But time is running out. Scott Dixon into that final corner, and that checkered flag will be waiting.
One last brake zone, and it's going to be next to impossible.
Dixon gets back-to-back wins at Sonoma, but we can't give this championship to him just yet. We wait for the rest to come across the line, and Montoya cannot do it. Scott Dixon not only wins in Sonoma, but wins the 2015 championship.
We win on the tiebreak.
Incredible performance. Winning on a tiebreak. There's Emma, Scott's wife. She can't believe it. Oh, beautiful scenes inside the Ganassi camp. And there's extra emotion here as well. Scott's wife, Emma, is English. Scott driving for Justin Wilson, just like everybody else.
Tiebreaker from Lewis wins. Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for everything.
And it's also a little cherry on the cake that may not be so little. On top of that icing for Chip Ganassi. Katie, it's Chip's 100th IndyCar Series win, and Dixon, his longest tenured driver, gives it to him.
And his 11th IndyCar championship, his 4th with Scott Dixon.
I promise you, when Scott comes to victory lane, there will be a lot spoken about for Justin Wilson. Emma has been very supportive for Julia, Justin's wife, and these guys elated. And what a spectacular finish to the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series. Incredible. He's now a 4-time champion, joining his great friend and former teammate Dario Franchitti, Sebastian Bourdais, and the legend Mario Andretti. Spare a thought, and you got a feel for Montoya. Juan Pablo led the entire way and loses the championship in a tiebreak. He gave it his all.
Yeah, and he looks pretty animated, but I mean, he did everything that he could do today, Paul.
Yeah,
drove a great race.
Drove a great race. He kept his foot in it. He drove to the end, but that mistake of running into the back of his teammate, damaging the front wing, spelled the downfall for the whole team, for Team Penske.
It was a bizarre circumstance. But the door was open there. I mean,
yeah,
the door was open.
And look at Scott. He cannot believe it. The race winner is the championship winner.
Taking a moment there to think about it.
And look at Tony Kanaan. He's one of the first in there to congratulate him, and Charlie Kimball as well. Sage Karam.
That's the epitome of teamwork right there. Those guys all worked for Scott Dixon's benefit, and the downfall for Penske is they were all fighting each other to win the championship.
Isn't it amazing? The twists and turns of this championship finale.
He doesn't even look that tired. That's what's amazing.
Sunday cruise, yeah. Really. He was in control from half distance, and it was just pace yourself and He's the Iceman. He's not even sweating.
What a pro. He's been here so many times before.
It's his 38th career IndyCar win. He was already in rarefied air before today. But Marty, how special is this?
And here he comes. I think, honestly, Lee, he's in a little bit of disbelief right now. Scott Dixon is your 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series champion. And the team told him on the radio, and he said, I honestly I can't believe it. Hugs all around from the team. You see Barry Wanzer coming in.
Hey Marty, how about
everybody a hug?
Marty, how about for Chris Simmons? Chris Simmons shed so many championships for Dario. This was their first year of being engineer driver together.
Correct. Worked out very well. Let's get Dixon in here. Coming in, it's almost like they can't believe they actually pulled it off.
Look at that. Incredible scenes. How about that? Oh, the celebration begins. So, Dixon the champ, and you spare a thought for Montoya, of course, more than just a thought. So close. Will Power ended up leapfrogging Graham Rahal to get a top 3 spot in Helio Castroneves. Ryan Hunter-Reay with a late charge to finish 6th, considering how his season started. That was commendable. And Joseph Newgarden gets his career best result. Canaan, Andretti and Bourdais finish in the top 10. So some positives to take away there as well. But here's Kevin with the runner-up.
He loses it, and Team Penske loses the championship for the 6th time in 7 years in the final race.
So disappointment for Team Penske. Look at Ganassi though. Tony Kanaan thrilled for his teammate, Scott Dixon, the champion for 2015. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Verizon, adrenaline on demand. Download IndyCar 15 only from Verizon. And by DA Lubricant Company, performance engineered lubricants since 1919. Visit dalube.com. Wrapping up the championship for 2015, but we've got a lot to do and a lot of people to hear from. Let's start with Kevin Lee. So too is this man here, the driver of the 15, Steak and Shake Honda, Graham Rahal, came into today with a shot at being champion. However, this was a significant turning point for his race.
A little bit over-optimistic by Bourdais, clearly punted him from behind. It was an easy penalty for race control to decide, and obviously Graham Rahal very, very frustrated after the race. We'll get some footage of that.
And this was shortly after the race.
No. You knew exactly where I'm going. You drove like a...
And that's 2 races in a row that Graham Rahal has been collected, and he's letting his frustration out right there. Let's check in with Young. And highlighted earlier during the broadcast, they've got nothing, they lose nothing today because it's been an unreal year.
Yeah, and that guy right there, I mean, we heard Will Power complaining earlier, but Scott Dixon won this thing by just out-driving everybody today, and he comes out on top. A well-deserved race win and championship.
He's always consistent. Every year he's always in the championship fight, and today he did exactly what he needed to do, saved his best for last. And he loves to drink that wine. We know he loves a good glass of wine, so what a better place than here in Napa to wrap up that championship and get a big glass.
Some pleasing results at the bottom of the top 10 there. Takuma Sato, Rodolfo Gonzalez, Mikhail Aloshin gets a top 10 for the 2nd year in a row at Sonoma, and his first drive in an IndyCar for this year for Marco Andretti. How about Oriol Servia? His drive in Justin Wilson's car, asked by the Wilson family to drive it. He hasn't spent any time in a car this year except for Indy, hasn't been to the gym, hasn't been training by his own admission, and comes home in a top 12 position.
Yeah, just terrific for Servia. He'll be exhausted by the end of that one, but he hung on, no mistakes, just like Justin would have.
Exhausted but completely satisfied.
He did what he was asked to do. Well, the opening half of that race wasn't all that interesting, but boy, didn't the second half give us a lot to talk about, and we've still got a lot more to come.
Scotty's in great shape. There they are on your podium.
Finale. Charlie Kimball finishes the season on a high. What about Ryan Hunter-Reay with that runner-up spot to Scott Dixon? Vaults himself from 11th in the championship standings this morning to 6th. Now, sure, 6th isn't great for a former series champion, but what a massive leap at today's final race of the season. We mentioned going to the break, what a fabulous story it has been for Oriol Servia, an IndyCar veteran of some 15 years, being asked by the Wilson family to drive Justin's car for Andretti Autosport on this day where we farewelled the gentle giant. With more on that, here's Jan. And WilsonChildren'sFund.com to help out these beautiful little girls. Justin's girls and his wife Julia, and ensure that they have quality life ahead and a good education. Some important things as the guys on the podium celebrate. Dixon in disbelief. Well, perhaps he shouldn't be, because he drove a very good race. The team handled it strategically, beautifully. That opening pit stop, or that second stop that was lightning fast, that got him out there. And then the fuel-saving captain just took care of the rest, and it was a beautiful, smooth race. Great teamwork too, not only from Saavedra and Charlie Kimball, but Tony Kanaan as well. The Ganassi guys were out in force today to help their main man, Scott Dixon. Katie?
This is a man that has had...
Really touching the impact that Justin had on Ryan on just such a short period of time, and also the performance of that race team. Somewhere Justin's very proud of all of us right now.
Hey, Jan, it was quite the display from Chip Ganassi's men today. I know you're with one of them, and his good friend, Scott Dixon. As an IndyCar Series champion comes along with the Astor Cup, and the first Astor Cup race was held in 1915, so we are in our 100th anniversary year. Aren't these amazing old scenes? The sport has come such a long way, and although the cars, the competitors and the facilities have changed somewhat, it's still that honor of this, and those days are not forgotten, as reflected on the beautiful Astor Challenge Cup. And there it is for real. And Scott Dixon knows all too well what it's like to be handed that and to stand alongside it and to hold it. Just beautiful. And what a storybook way that this championship finished. Perhaps fitting for a driver of Scott Dixon's stature and history in this sport, and joins a very short list of 4-time IndyCar champions. Can you believe the way it unfolded?
I really can. I mean, it's I can believe that Scott Dixon can pull it off on any day at any track, but for the way things played out behind him in the championship, it's unbelievable.
Paul?
I mean, you could really read this over the past 5 races since Iowa. You know, the Ganassi team was talking about teamwork and helping Scott and what we needed to do for Scott, and the Penske guys were just fighting themselves for championship position, and that's what really kind of unraveled them and propelled the Ganassi team into the championship. Because Iowa, when Scott fell out, I thought okay, that's pretty much
that was it.
That was it for him. But then they kept rallying.
It seemed like that was going to be the big turning point when Montoya was forced out with suspension failure and a crash, and it looked like that could have been Dixon's big moment to pounce and capitalize, and also for Graham Rahal as well. However, it wasn't to be. Now we're just waiting on Scott Dixon to make his way to this championship stage. Marty Snyder is standing by, and the champions presentation will take place any moment now. Incidentally, the Verizon IndyCar Series Champions Banquet tomorrow night in downtown San Francisco, where the official presentations will be made. And there will also be another special tribute, this time from the drivers, for the late Justin Wilson. I mentioned earlier about that pensive mood and that different Scott Dixon that I spoke to and witnessed this weekend. Boy, what a dramatic turnaround. What a dramatic turnaround.
He's in a pretty good mood now.
Oh boy, will he be. For sure. And at this point, everyone starts immediately going into debrief mode. What went right in 2015? What went wrong in 2015? And how can we be better in 2016? And it's kind of like a birthday party, but you're waiting for the birthday boy to arrive. We're just waiting on the champ.
Well, it's always cool to be a little late to the party. So imagine Dixon's trying to hydrate, taking it all in, and it's been a tough week for him and the entire IndyCar community, but this is such a sweet way to cap things off. Look at all those Target people that came out to support him today.
Just got a quick shot of it before we went to one of the breaks. Dixon has two of his really close friends here from New Zealand as well to help celebrate. And he didn't know that he'd be celebrating. He hoped he'd be celebrating. And the team, as we heard from Charlie Kimball, ensured that he'd be celebrating. An amazing performance on what has been a very memorable weekend here at Sonoma Raceway for the championship finale.
Pretty interesting stat, just looking back to that Iowa race, Paul. Dixon's crew repairing that car and getting him back out gave him 1 point.
So while we wait for Mr. Number One to arrive, we'll duck off to a break, come back. "16 races, 16 rounds of the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series have been complete. We have a champion, Marty Snyder."
Well, thanks so much, Lee, and welcome everyone to the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series World Championship presentation. For the 4th consecutive year, Chevrolet has won the manufacturer's title in the Verizon IndyCar Series. So to accept the award this year on behalf of Chevrolet, let's bring up Jim Campbell from Chevrolet. Terrific season for these guys. And doesn't hurt, Jim, that you ended it with a championship either, does it?
Well, this is a great place to bring the championship home here in Sonoma. I want to thank all of our Chevy teams for delivering great performance. From the engine side and the aero side, they did it. They delivered 16 poles, 10 victories, manufacturer's championship, and Scott Dixon, Mike Hull, and Chip Ganassi did just a great job on the championship. Great job.
Congratulations on your another manufacturer's championship. 4 in a row for the folks at Chevrolet. Of course, the Verizon IndyCar Series season is one of the toughest in all of motorsports. You have ovals, both short and long, road courses, street courses. So to reward a champion like that, we present this to you, the Astor Cup. It has every open wheel champion on it since 1909. Certainly one of the most coveted pieces of hardware in all of motorsports. And the man we're going to celebrate today will add his name to this trophy for the 4th time. Without further ado, let's bring up the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series champion, Scott Dixon, everyone. You brought some friends, didn't you? Including all your crew. Hey, we didn't ask you this in Victory Lane, but I want to talk to you about this. 4 championships put you in a category with Sebastian Bourdais, Mario Andretti, and some bragging rights over one of your best friends, Dario Franchitti. To be in that class of guys, what does that mean to a driver like you coming from New Zealand?
It means a lot. You know, it's been a long road. You know, I think, you know, for me, I've been with this team for 14 years, which is an amazing stretch. And, you know, I feel very blessed to obviously work with so many talented people. And, you know, none of these championships are won with one person. You know, it's a team effort, and Team Target won that today. You know, the pit stop was phenomenal. Their strategy was amazing. You know, I can't thank everybody involved in this program enough. You know, my teammates, you know, today, throughout the whole year, the whole season, have been an amazing, you know, pair. And it's obviously this week we raced with extremely heavy hearts, and thoughts and prayers go to, you know, Justin Wilson's family, you know, Julia, Jane, Jess, Keith, Lynn, and obviously Stefan. Stefan was here this weekend, his brother, and, you know, I know it's extremely tough for that family, and much love to them. But we're gonna celebrate tonight as Justin would do the same, and it still seems so unreal. It was such a long shot. All Team Target. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
You mentioned that there's 500 Target. I think you brought all 500 Target folks to the celebration, didn't you?
I did. You know, there's all Target people. They were all up in turn 7. I did a nice little burnout for them. So you know, without the partnership with Target, we couldn't do it. And obviously Chevrolet with the aero kit, the engine, the performance, the fuel mileage today was phenomenal. And without these partners, we couldn't do things like this. So huge thank you to everybody involved.
There's two other guys who help you on a week-to-week basis. How about Chip Ganassi and Mike Hull? Let's bring those guys up. Come on up, Chip and Mike. The 100th win for Ganassi. Chip and Barry Wanzer there as well. 100th win today for you guys, another championship. Has there been a greater day in all of the history of Ganassi Racing?
And all the Target team members here too, look at that.
Wow! Has there been a bigger day for you in racing?
Never a bigger day. I mean, this is the sweetest one of all. We've won 11 championships now, and this is the sweetest one ever.
Did you honestly think coming into the morning where you were in the championship saying you could do it?
Absolutely, we honestly thought that. And if you ever give up thinking, you know, you can always do it. If there's hope, well, this team has it. And somehow we always pull it off. I don't know how.
You ready to carry?
Great team members.
Ready to carry a trophy home?
Yes, sir.
All right, for that, we're going to put you on the other side of the trophy. We're going to bring up Dan Mead from Verizon and also Mark Miles from IndyCar to do the honors to hand out the Astor Cup to these guys who are very deserving of the 2015 champions. Mark?
Thanks, Marty. We want to quickly thank Steve Page and everybody at Sonoma Raceway. We think a great place for the finale of this championship. Great race today. We want to, on behalf of our fans, thank all the drivers and teams that made it such a compelling, exciting championship this year. We want to thank our great sponsors, particularly Verizon and Firestone, Chevy and Honda. And then there's this guy, Chip Ganassi and Team Ganassi. Nice of you to cut it so close, Chip. Congratulations to all of you and to their great sponsor, Target. And finally, if Dan Mead is up to the lift, it is a great honor for all of us to award the Astor Trophy to Chip. I'm impressed he can pick it up. And to Scott Dixon, our champion, a great champion on and off the track. Thanks, Marty.
Deserving champions, no doubt about it. Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi Racing, your 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series champions. Lee, what a dramatic day it was.
Just an incredible way to cap off this 2015 championship. And Townsend and Paul, as you know all too well, the drivers get a lot of the accolades. They do the finishing work, if you want to put it that way. But isn't that beautiful for Scott, first and foremost, to say this was a team victory?
Well, as long as he's been doing it, as many races and championships as he's won, he knows better than anybody. It takes an army, and they've performed time and time again, and I know he appreciates that.
Yeah, I mean, just the team effort, the job that these guys do, and Townsend brought it up in the previous segment there, fixing that car at Iowa, sending all the guys over there to fix that car, get it back on track, was 1 point. And that was the difference today to make the difference to win this championship.
And he passed, he surpassed Takuma Sato's lap count with just a couple of laps to go to get that extra point. Incredible the way. That's why you hear us all the time. Kids, you never give up and you fight for every point you can get because it makes a difference. Look at this. Just look. There's no points between Dixon and Montoya. Dixon won it on a countback on having 3 wins versus Montoya's 2. They finished the season equal on points. And Montoya drops just that solitary position at the final race. An incredible way to end it. Will Power, last year's champion, finishes in the top 3. Graham Rahal frustrated to drop to 4th overall. And Castro Neves, it's another title that's slipped away, but he finishes in the top 5. Final thoughts, what do you think?
Well, on a day that, we all wanted to celebrate excellence with Justin Wilson and just great people, it's nice to see someone like Scott Dixon, come out on top for hard work, for persevering, for being a professional, and always, trying to drive the way Justin would.
The battle royale continues between Penske and Ganassi Racing. Penske takes the Indy 500, falters on the championship, and Ganassi steals it away.
And yet again, we have another fascinating end and conclusion to a Verizon IndyCar Series. It all began with JPM in Florida at St. Pete. And how about James Hinchcliffe's surprise win, and a first-time winner at Barber in Joseph Newgarden. So many high points. And for Will Power, who wanted to dominate the month of May at Indianapolis, but his teammate did something about it in the 500, Montoya winning it for the second time. So many high points, like Carlos Munoz really in that street fight in Detroit, and Dixon in Texas. That turnaround win for Ray Hall at Fontana in his home win. And then the clinic in Milwaukee by Bourdais, a 4-time series champion. And then that much needed victory for Ryan Hunter-Reay under the lights in Iowa. There's that hometown win for Ray Hall. That was a high point that kept him in this championship. For all of us here on NBC Sports, IndyCar 2015 will give us a lot to remember, and we race into the future with Justin Wilson firmly in our hearts.